it matter that it says my webcam is 720p?
No.
No.
Okay,
No one
great.
cares about
Mine
podcast
too.
quality.
That is true.
No one's like, I can't. This podcast is unwatchable. It's
Just like,
720p.
can you tell that chainsaw to shut up?
Yeah, no.
Can you guys hear it, by the way? Or is it okay?
Alanah does have a chainsaw operating in the
Yeah.
background, but she's using the wonders of AI to block it out, right? God bless AI.
It's not all bad.
Yeah. You can get rid of Chainsaw Man sounds. It's terrifying. It just kind of sounds like it keeps sounding like somebody's flushing the toilet, but like
That's just how they sound.
like there
in
it is.
Australia.
Yeah,
Just
in
all the
Australia.
time.
Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah.
But you see, but the chainsaw things actually go around the other way.
Here we go. I knew
Exactly.
someone
Well,
would say
that's
that.
the craziest
okay.
part is we had a cyclone as soon as I got here, and people from the US kept asking me what's the difference between a cyclone and a hurricane, and I was like, they spin in opposite directions. That's not a joke.
Oh.
That is
Really
the
not
difference. Not a joke. That is the difference between a hurricane and a cyclone. Is a cyclone
Wow.
spins in a different direction. They're just on different hemispheres.
Oh, you learn something new
I
every
actually
day.
got
I
an
did not know
email
that.
from D-Brand today. You know, like
Oh,
you know,
boy.
D-
Yeah.
whatever, and they're like regarding the tariffs because they just
Oh, boy.
They're so edgy.
because the US just slapped some like tariffs on Australia and like steel and whatever, and the email was printed upside down. Like, D-Brand were like, and so I had to like get this image, pull it off,
Flip it.
flip it,
Oh
and then it
my
read
God.
like, "Hey, we're just emailing you about because because they're Canadian and they're like, we too are suffering under the yoke of this stupid bullshit.
Amazing.
So here's our proposal: you buy something from us, and we'll send it to you without any tariffs. Enjoy." And I'm like, "All right, D-Brand, good job. I don't need any D-Brand shit right now, but if I did, I would probably copy
Some good marketing.
That is good, just for that upside down image. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it,
very
exactly
good.
right.
Very
That hits.
good.
That's it.
Isn't that like Australian racism? Or they're kind of like making fun of Australia because like you guys are on the other side.
Believe me,
I don't get
we
it.
have a very
Not a race.
when it comes to racism, we got some serious racism
We've
down
got you
here.
covered. Don't worry about it.
and it's got nothing to do with being upside down. Believe me,
Oh.
that's a whole
Speaking
other
of
podcast.
racism,
That's a
Oh.
whole other podcast.
Speaking of racism, I'm
Speaking
dying
of
to see where
racism,
this
yeah.
goes.
All right, take us
Did you
away.
did you guys watch the Lilo and Stitch live action trailer?
No,
I've never seen even
No?
the original animated one. Is it good or not?
Really?
Wait,
I'm just an adult man who likes Lilo and Stitch. I'm one of those.
I've
great.
watched most Disney stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Yeah.
not like, but it's for some reason that's just always been a blind spot. Is it worth checking out? Isn't he just some crazy
Yeah.
little guy that just like makes feral
Yeah.
animal sounds?
Yeah, but what people don't know about him, and this was kind of like revealed more in the PS2 game that was like a tie-in, but it was
Well,
actually
you're
really
a real
He's a
Lilo
Yeah,
real
and Stitch
guy.
enjoyer.
No, listen. Stitch, and I'm not even like a Disney guy, but like Stitch uses guns. He's like an alien from another planet. He's got like 6 arms, and all of them hold guns.
Nice.
And
I
then
see
he
how this appeals to
only
you.
gets cute when he goes to Earth to blend in.
Wait,
Oh,
so
that's
he's
sick.
literally Nibbler from Futurama.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, yeah.
Why
Okay,
is
I've
the
got the
trailer
trailer on-
racist?
He does look so cute. Like that is fair play, Disney. I mean, the
Yeah,
live
I
action
got
stuff
her.
hasn't necessarily hit for me.
You know what
Um,
looks really shit? Snow White. I watched some clips of that, man. That looks
Did-
bad.
Did you?
Is there a
I mean,
trailer for it?
Yeah,
or
oh,
something?
there's
Yeah,
like some
yeah. Well,
clips
it's
they put
out
out.
like next week or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they
Oh,
are
jeez.
not having press screenings. Great sign.
That's
They're
great.
not inviting any media to the premiere.
Oh my god. Jesus
Yeah, it's not.
Christ.
I don't think
It's like the equivalent of like when a publisher gives codes really late
Yeah,
for
to
reviews. Like
select
that's what it
media
feels
only.
like.
It's that.
Except they're like just none, just no reviews.
The insistence on the Disney live action stuff just has not worked.
Dude.
I liked the Beauty and the Beast one. I don't know if that's
starring
like,
Cher
Oh,
with
did
all that
I?
auto-tune.
And it's because it starred cousin Matthew from Downton Abbey. God bless.
Yes,
Mm.
I mean to be fair, he was a great prince. He was a great beast. But
Yeah.
Emma Watson, my God, she cannot sing.
oh,
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Oh no,
I just-
the auto tune in that was like
Fair enough.
Can I be honest? I never saw Beauty and the Beast before that, and I
Oh.
watched it. And I was like, "Oh, this is kind of like Castlevania. This is sick." And now I'm like all into Beauty and the Beast. I'm like, "This is fucking dope." He's like a cool guy in a castle. It's like a haunted castle. with
He's
all these
very
weird little
cool.
It is
friends.
actually.
He's
Oh,
very
yeah.
cool.
Extremely cool.
Extremely cool. Anger
Yeah.
problems for real. Like he's kind of like
Relatable.
abusive, but
like but brooding.
So cool.
Yeah, he is. He's
Kinda hot.
I was gonna say when you shouted out the Weekly Planet last episode, everyone lost their fucking
Yeah.
mind. Turns out, like
Oh,
everyone who watches this podcast also watches the Weekly Planet. I didn't know
I'm
that.
so happy. It's
And-
like the.
I don't
It's
know what
I
that
kind of
is.
like was
It's just Sunday
reserved.
movies.
It's like the best podcast ever.
We should get them on, right? Because we talk about this same sort of bullshit, like pop culture stuff. because I actually watched their review of. They did a review of like the 1989 Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren, which I just
Oh, it's
recently
incredible.
watched.
Those videos are so good.
And I'm like,
yeah.
yes, okay, these guys are very cool. I see why everyone watches this now, listens to this. This rocks. So yeah, man. If
They're incredibly funny.
the
They
crew,
would body us.
You're welcome on the podcast anytime. Come
Anytime.
Yes.
We'll send you an email.
I'll be really nervous because I'm a fanboy, but that's fine.
Great.
But they're Australians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I can,
Yeah.
you know, I can
Yeah,
build some
you're all-
Australian
all you
reports.
guys-
I was
all
going to
you
say, do you
people are
have an
scary.
Australia only email service?
No,
Yes.
we got, you know, we'll talk about, I don't know, Barangaroo, for example. You know, they'll know what
Fairy
that is.
bread.
They got Barangaroo.
That's right. They'll know what that is.
Oh, Tim Tams. There's a store by me. A new grocery store opened up, and they have Tim Tams.
Oh,
They
shit.
real.
Are they the
Wait,
real
Jake-
ones?
Women in the US are fake.
Correct.
Yeah,
Ah,
Jake,
really?
do a Tim Tam slam.
Which one is that again? When you drink like
Yeah.
you throw
Tea
it in
through
a
it.
beer.
That's the one.
Oh, tea.
No.
Okay.
the one.
Did they like drop it in a beer and chunk the beer? I don't know. Eat
I
the-
unironically had 2 Tim Tams for breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
You can have them for
That's
how
Breakfast, it's
Australian
traditional
I am.
Australian breakfast.
No, you don't.
No, you
I just they were there and I ate them. So
I have egg rolls for breakfast sometimes. So
that's
when
good.
in Rome.
I like that.
Oh, do you mean when you say egg
Welcome
rolls? Do you mean
to-
like the sort of like Chinese egg roll? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Like
So what I
a-
like to do is order Chinese food. Like
Okay.
you get takeout,
Yeah.
and they usually give you an egg roll.
Okay.
You don't eat it. You don't eat it for dinner.
Yeah.
You save it for the next day, and you eat it in the morning.
Genius.
When I was younger, it was like a
immense
good
genius is
hangover
probably-
cure, but now I just do it for recreational
Just any
purposes.
time.
Yeah.
I know someone. I'm not going to name them. She every time if we're drunk and we order McDonald's, she always gets a spare cheeseburger and she keeps it in her handbag and she calls it her Pearce burger.
It's extremely cool. That
How
is-
long does she keep it in
Yeah,
the
how
handbag
long?
for?
Oh, Alanah, you know this person.
I actually think I could guess who it is.
Let's not shame the
Yeah,
public.
no,
I
she-
reckon I would know who that is.
She eats it like the next day or later on in the night, depending on how
Okay,
drunk we
fair
are.
enough. Smart. That's
Well,
smart though. That's very smart.
Is it?
Okay.
Okay.
Look, have you seen those things of McDonald's burgers like that were preserved 20 years ago or something? And they look
Yeah, I
exactly
love
the same?
that.
She's
It gets me
fine.
going. Yeah, that's good. This is a podcast, everybody. This is a video game podcast. This is Friends Per Second. It is episode 65. I am Jake. That is Ralph. That is Lucy. Alanah, thank you for joining us as well.
Yes.
How are you? You're not in
Doing
Los
alright.
Angeles? You're on the other side of the world.
Yes,
correct?
I am in Brisbane right now. We just had a whole bunch of cyclones and flooding, so it's been a real mess out here. I basically flew straight from LA fires into a cyclone. Great start to the year, but
Love
yeah, everything is pretty well okay at this point. It's
That's
getting better.
Nice.
Are you just hanging out?
Yeah, because I quit my job at Sony in December. The whole reason I did that was so I could spend more time at home. So I'm spending this whole month at home. I realized that I've spent more time at home in the last 6 months than I have in the whole 10 years that I've been working in the US. And that
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Feels very good though. It's really nice to be home.
I'll bet.
Good time to be in
Yeah, it's
Australia
nice
as
to
well.
see you
Weather's
did
all right.
that.
Well, it's all right now.
Yes. Well, other than all the other shit, of course. But otherwise, it's okay. Yes.
Yeah, ignore the flooding and
Yep.
that guy who died. Then yeah, it's great.
Yep.
It is beautiful though. Yeah.
Mm.
I got to go back.
Yeah.
It's been, like, oh my god, it's been 14 years since I was last in Australia.
Should do a PAX.
I would love to do it.
Don't worry, we're gonna do a
Sounds-
PAX one day. Believe me, we're
sure.
definitely gonna. We're talking to PAX. Believe me, that's gonna happen.
It's too far.
Yeah, you'll come. Okay, well, don't
We'll
worry,
have a
you'll
nice
be here.
time.
That's
We'll go
right.
see the big banana.
Wait, hold on.
Your wife will love it. You'll take her to nice places in Australia. You'll be the hero. It'll be an amazing trip, and you'll think, we've got to do this every year now. That's what you'll think.
Rough, right?
She's like telling me it's like you gotta go. It's great.
Yeah.
So,
She's not wrong.
There you
yeah.
go.
She's not wrong.
but what's the big banana? Can we go back on that?
I mean, I feel like the name
Says
kind of
it
tells you
all.
everything.
Yeah.
It's just a big banana.
It is.
Is it on the Gold Coast where they have all the big things?
I actually don't know where any of the big things are because we have like a big pineapple, a big banana, a big sheep.
Whoa.
Pineapple.
I've been to the Big Sheep.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, we just have big things, and they're always just on some road somewhere, fucking 6 hours away from some other thing, And
The big pineapple is in Mumbai, and I actually was there last year because they have a really cool rope climbing treetop challenge.
Okay.
So I went to
Ooh,
the big pineapple quite recently.
Okay.
Can confirm, large pineapple.
Cool.
The big
banana. Coffs Harbour.
There's a big banana.
Oh, that's where my
Oh,
memories
wait,
are
no.
from.
Sorry. I think that's different because there is now... Wait, no. They added
You're
an
right.
amusement park?
They did. You're right.
It was
Yeah,
so
I've also
popular.
been there.
They-
There's
they
not
added-
much to do in Australia.
This is what we got going on down here.
Yeah. it's a
Yeah, do you
lot.
know what the slogan is for the Big Banana? It's a whole bunch of fun.
Oh,
Genius.
that's great.
But it's not though,
That's
because it's one
cute.
banana, so it's not a bunch.
It's just
Yeah,
And,
no,
and a throw right around it now,
No, no.
apparently.
And also, when I went, it was 2011, and the banana crop in Australia
Yeah,
had
that's
been
that
completely
year.
decimated. So I paid $15 for
Yeah.
a banana,
No, that's right.
like a frozen banana, because I was really into Arrested Development at the time.
oh,
And I was
perfect.
like, so it was literally, how much does a banana cost, Michael? $10? It
No.
did.
15.
One banana?
Yeah. Don't you remember that? Were you here during that period?
I would have been here, yes. But
Okay.
I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
no, we lost like our entire banana
Yeah.
crop that year, and
Wow.
yeah,
The
banana
banana
prices were
famine.
unbelievable. You would be buying bunches of bananas for like $40.
I mean, the egg situation's pretty crazy. It's not that expensive, but there's a limit on how many
Oh.
eggs you can buy.
Yeah. Oh, here.
Yeah.
No, here it's. I went to Target today and I paid $11 for eggs,
for a dozen eggs.
for a dozen eggs.
That's insane.
That's
Crazy.
not great.
Yeah, they're not any more expensive here because I guess they're not allowed to do that in Australia. But you can only take one carton, and so people are swapping out if their carton has a broken egg in it.
Yeah.
They're like trading eggs
Yeah.
around the cartons.
That's
so
what
like
you
if
always
you
do.
get the
Supposed to
last
do that.
carton,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
the law.
half
You're supposed to
broken.
do that.
That's what you're supposed to
yeah.
do. How else do you
You're
buy
supposed to
eggs?
fuck other people. Yeah, just
I've never looked.
You've
I
never
just
looked.
like not-
You just
Yeah,
get
I've
home
never
and you're like,
opened
oh
an egg
shit,
carton and looked.
2 of these are
She li-
broken.
No, she lives her life like one egg carton at a time. You know, like maybe one broken egg at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never even thought to look.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah, I'll take the broken eggs. It's fine.
Damn.
Well, let's talk about video games.
I don't know.
There,
guess.
something did happen. Before we
What?
get into like the games we're playing and stuff like that, there was some Xbox stuff we kind of wanted to dive into.
Oh yeah.
Ralph, would you mind introing, setting us up with that?
Yeah,
'Cause I
so
don't even
basically,
know what the
Jez Corden, Windows Central, and now also backed up in part by Tom Warren of The Verge, reporting that Xbox is thinking about its hardware plans for next little while. So obviously we had that leak during the like Activision Blizzard lawsuit with the FTC a while ago. We talked about
Yeah.
like their plans to refresh consoles and yada yada. None of that ever happened. So obviously you always need to treat these sorts of reports with a grain of salt. But according to Windows Central, Xbox is planning to release a handheld this year, and won't be one that they themselves are making. It's likely going to be in partnership with a manufacturer like Asus or Lenovo, whatever. Tom Warren says it's Asus. And it'll basically be imagine like a ROG Ally, but more Xboxy. So it's going to look like an Xbox, and it's going to, I don't know, have like an Xbox button on it, and it's going to be, most importantly, it's going to have like a UI overhaul with.
That's what I want.
That's it exactly. Yeah.
I have a ROG Ally. I have a Steam Deck,
Sure.
and like ergonomically, the ROG is so much better for me. And do you know who sent me the ROG? Xbox.
That's right, they did actually. I remember they did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
They were into that whole thing.
And I love it. Don't get me wrong. I really love it. I take it with me everywhere because it fits in. It's way slimmer, just easier to transport around. And the one thing I hate about it the most is that it is Windows 11,
Mm.
and it's such a pain in the ass to. And obviously, like, very grateful to have it. I use it all the time, but like, I just wish there was a swap. And allegedly, the Steam OS was going to be coming.
Yes.
I'm not sure
That's
when.
already happening. SteamOS,
Yeah.
those units have already
Free and
shipped.
clear.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
But no, now, yeah, if there's an Xbox thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say is I would just use my Ally. I feel like I have so many devices that already do this, including with Xbox games.
Yes.
Like even I use my Backbone still. Like I'm like,
Exactly.
do I need another one of these? And I feel like the UI is probably not enough for me.
No.
No, that's it.
I was gonna say, is it enough for me to buy something new? But maybe not. But if I was in the market for something,
Sure,
I think that would be such an upgrade. Oh my god!
Mm. Yeah, I
Like connecting. I mean, even Steam Deck. If I'm in a hotel and I'm trying to connect to hotel Wi-Fi, I can't do that through the Steam Deck UI. I have to go to the desktop, log in that way, and then go back to Steam because the pop-up doesn't work. And it's like all these little things that really, like, everything plays great. You can access your games fine, but it's in constant use where these little annoyances kind of come up. And you're like, man, I just wish someone would have thought of that. And a lot of it comes down to that user experience.
So you're saying that the user experience on the Windows machine is better?
No, as in both. It's like
both.
both
There's
of it
both-
is
both
like
have
there is nothing. So I'm looking if they are going to be releasing something which also has these years of people using the devices,
Sure.
like that kind of research, like kind of, hey, what annoys you most about using this? I really hope that this is going to be something, because maybe that could be the thing that sets it apart from your Steam Deck or your traditional ROG Ally or Lenovo. You know, like fix all those little things.
I think it might just be a thing to fill that specific customer need, where it's Xbox people big on the Xbox ecosystem, but also probably big on Game Pass, that maybe are hardware people looking at people with PlayStation that has the Portal, because like PlayStation fans that like embrace the Portal like went all in on the Portal.
Yes.
So I
People
do feel
love the
like
Portal.
it's proving that like Xbox fans would probably be very happy to have a similar option or a similar alternative. And I mean, it's probably the best way for them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say,
partnering
because
up.
like, yeah, and if you say, hey, it's a ROG Ally, that doesn't do anything to move the needle on the Xbox brand.
Yep.
It's ROG Ally first that can play my Xbox games, right? It's not branded Xbox. So smart.
I'm
Makes sense.
also, I guess I'm also just sort of surprised in that looking at, I spent the last like month joining investor calls, like literally speaking to investors and joining calls about the games industry to see how we got into the position that we are in. And to figure out like what investors are telling people, and overwhelmingly investors are telling people to get out of video games and go into AI. Like that is like across the board, which is part of why I think Microsoft probably did the Muse thing that they did, is like, even if
Yeah.
it's not, they don't care, that just it's a stock market play. But everything that I can see from the Xbox strategy right now makes it seem like they really want to go mobile. And I wonder if this is an attempt for a gateway, maybe, if it's like a means to like get the Xbox audience to be more okay with something on the go, so then they can eventually shift to mobile. Because from everything laid out about what they're currently doing and even what investor companies are saying, it seems like their long-term plan is to have people playing on mobile way more often. Just like kind of surprised, but if it's a go-between, maybe that's the strat.
Yeah, I guess xCloud also kind of feeds into that, because they're always, hey, you can be playing this game on your phone. It does work really well, but I just kind of always forget that I have it.
Yeah, sure. In connection with this as well, this reporting also suggests that the next iteration of Xbox is out in 2027. They said that the plan has been greenlit, and that will include a new console and also a Microsoft-made handheld. So this one in 2025 will be partnered with Asus or whoever. Microsoft themselves are not making it, but new hardware launch in 2027 will include a handheld made by Microsoft. How do you guys feel about?
Do you think that'll be more switchy, where they're like compatible in a way?
Ooh, I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, do you guys feel? Do you like? Let's say first of all, 2027 for next gen consoles. Am I wrong in thinking that just sounds fucking insane? Like,
It
that's
sounds so soon.
That's
sounds way too
that's
soon.
18 months away. That's not.
Wow,
it's more
yeah,
than
that's
that.
crazy.
But it's like
Yeah, when you put it like that.
it's you can imagine that future. It's pretty soon, right? And it just seems like we're nowhere near this generation really like finding its stride at all.
No.
And to think about the idea of buying into the next generation just seems crazy to me.
I mean, Sony games have only just started being like PS5
Only
developed, right? Like that's only just started to happen.
Yeah.
Xbox is obviously very different because the hardware is very different, but I think the iterations also make it feel weirder in that we've had a lot of little pieces in between. And we're having this conversation about handhelds right now, and we're just talking about PS Portal. Like, I feel like there's just been more stuff, but what is the usual life cycle? The previous consoles came out in 2022.
I can't remember the year.
2020.
Was it 2020?
The last
Was it
cycle
2020?
was a longer
It was
one.
2020, because I had to go into the office.
Oh, you're right. It was COVID.
And it was COVID, and we were the only people allowed in there. No one else was allowed to take their mask off, and it was like a weird, weirdest shoot I think I've ever been on. But yeah, and then what? Like PS4 was 2013.
So 7
End
years.
of 2013, yeah.
7 years.
So I guess.
Yeah, but I
Standard?
think the reality is this generation is just different though. Like with this other generations have been defined by a steady release of first party titles that have really shaped the identity of a console. And this has just not had that, like first party Sony games. What are we talking? Returnal, like PS5 exclusive, right? Returnal,
Demon Souls
are just a remake. God of War Ragnarok was
Ratchet
obviously
and Clank?
last gen as well. Ratchet and Clank, sure. Spider-Man game.
2.
Spider-Man 2. Yep. I mean, lots of like where's I don't know. Yeah, Returnal is really is Returnal the only new IP first party PS5 exclusive this generation? Is that the only one? Because Helldivers was a sequel.
Yeah, Helldivers.
Yeah, I guess thus far, I think yes.
Unless we're Ghost of Tsushima was PS4. Yep. Yeah, so I mean, like, it just So I think the reality is that with game development timelines taking so long, that to keep that same cadence of hardware releases, it just feels very odd.
Yeah.
It just feels very odd.
AAA games take fucking 6 years at this point. Like, that's basically
a console generation,
like, just
which is
yeah.
insanity.
Yeah.
So
which is wild.
it does seem like
it's
something needs to kind of shift
you're
there.
right. It feels different because the landscape feels very different.
Totally.
Even if it's the same amount of time. And I guess
Yeah.
part of it is I don't know if hardware improvement rates are decreasing.
No.
Like they would constantly want to keep things up to date, right? But then I don't know. I don't know if that has actually increased in a significant way. Like it could be that they're trying to go the NVIDIA route and use AI like built into the hardware effectively as a means to,
and they will
maybe
all
that's
do
what
that.
it is.
They have to do that because that's where in terms of performance, they all have to incorporate that in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I mean, flipping a different way. So let's say, for example, Microsoft releases an Xbox in 2027.
Yeah.
What would it take for you to buy that machine? Like what?
We'll always buy every new video game.
But like,
hardware,
would you though?
personally.
Like for real though? Would you actually?
Always.
But why though? Why would you buy a new Xbox in 2027?
Just because I work in the industry,
Okay.
I will always buy all new hardware. If I were to take off my business hat,
But even just
think about it just as a consumer,
even taking that, even within that context, why do you need an Xbox as a content creator in 2027? Just so you can say how the new Assassin's Creed game runs on the new Xbox hardware? Like, what other reason is there?
I don't have a good answer. It's that because I work in video games, I will buy all new video game hardware so that I have an understanding of what everything is. Like that's really what it is. It's not like even as a content creator. It's like this is the industry I work in. I'm going to have all these products so that I know how all these products work. So it's a very outlier perspective.
My questioning is purely about because I agree with you in the sense that like that's how we traditionally have to think. But now, as someone who is doing this, I genuinely think that I wouldn't need that machine unless I'm trying to provide information on. Because in the past, I've always had that like, okay, cool. There's exclusive games and there's the performance question and whatever else. But now with that exclusive question completely removed, the only question I would be able to answer by owning that device is how does this game run on this device versus any other. Otherwise, I don't need it unless there's anything I'm missing. Do you know what I mean?
Gamer score.
Yeah.
They're not taking that away.
One versus 100 exclusive.
Microsoft storefront experience. And I guess I'm truly trying to drill down to the root of my question, which is like, what would it take for you to buy that? If let's say, taking your point, Alanah, imagining you weren't working in this business, right?
Yeah.
What would it take for you to purchase that machine?
I really want to say exclusives, that's like so hard to not give you that answer.
Sure.
But it's so different now. Especially with everything being backwards compatible now, which obviously I'm dramatically in favor of. Like, don't want to suggest that's a bad thing.
No, of course.
It does make it difficult to give you an answer. There is not a lot that I necessarily feel like is lacking from any of the experiences I have on anything else either, especially like I have a great PC and I can play a lot of Xbox games on that. I don't have a need that like there is no problem that I need a solution for currently. The only one that I would feel strongly about, and again, isn't even from a consumer perspective, it's from an industry perspective, is that current hardware is potentially holding video games back. But that doesn't mean that if they introduce new hardware that they would stop making things also for the Series S or X. Well, the S is the problem, I guess. But that would be the thing that I would look at as a solution, is that there are reports from multiple companies saying that it can be difficult to port things onto the Xbox ecosystem, and maybe that would fix that problem. But that's not for me. But that is a problem that potentially needs to be solved.
Yeah, good
I don't know.
point.
Anyone else? Would you buy one?
I think for me, it would have to be a killer app. And the reality is, like, the way they're designing and they're going forward, they seem like they're leaning away business-wise from having a killer app for the most part. With them opening up the ecosystem so much. That's what will get me, because with the original Xbox, it wasn't like super on my radar until I played Halo, and then I immediately went out and bought one.
Absolutely.
I sold a lot of my comic books. I had like really good fucking comic books that I had to sell to get that Xbox. But yeah, it would have to be something like that.
Mm.
Alanah, you brought up the tech, and it's interesting that, you know, I look at just jumping over to PlayStation, the PS5 Pro doesn't feel like how the PS4 Pro did, where the PS4 Pro felt like, ooh, we got to squeeze a little more juice. We need this thing. The PS5 Pro feels like it's something that's like out, and then things have to like fall into it. So, you know, if Xbox were to release something else, I think they also don't really have that like, ooh, like I don't think people with their Series X is like, ooh, I need a little bit more juice out of my console right now.
Is it sad that one thing I was thinking of is like, what would make me, you know, if I had, you know, the money and I was looking into getting a new console, I'd be like, yeah, hey, if my Series X broke, and then I could get a replacement, or depending on what the form factor of whatever a new Xbox would be. Like genuinely, I think I'm at that stage of life where, you know, I was painting today. I'm kind of taking a bit more pride in my aesthetic and my stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more get things with a little bit more intent behind them. And so if the option is to get a new Xbox Series X, which is great, it served me well, or getting whatever this mythical new Xbox is, and maybe the form factor is a little bit more in line with what I have, you know, because I like having my consoles out. I like being able to just see them.
Sure.
And God help me, I hope the PS5 has I just need to go back to a box. I can't deal with it. But, you know, maybe something like that would maybe convince me. It is so hard to answer this question without saying exclusives, Ralph. Screw you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is ultimately the problem, right? And you know, it's just
you need to be going into Xbox. You need to be this person.
No,
you gotta be asking Phil Spencer.
Everyone already knows this. I'm not saying anything.
It's Skill Up's anti Xbox crusade. He's on it again. Such a fanboy.
But no, I would feel the same if PlayStation was coming.
I mean, this is exactly the same.
Because like,
correct. If PlayStation said this, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Where's the killer apps, guys? What have we been? Games have been taking too long to make. Because I have been spending so much more time on PC, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting the best of both worlds.
I just think, like there's, when it comes to hardware, as I said, as we talked about in the past, like the hardware in this business is inextricably linked to exclusives, or traditionally. Like the Steam Deck obviously is not that, but the exclusive aspect to that is your like Steam library, you know, which many people have invested huge amounts of money in over time. And you know, there's many games that are PC exclusive. There are many games that are PC exclusives. And
they have that the portal robots go to the moon or whatever, or the portal robots meet Frankenstein. Like they always have those.
Absolutely,
that's exclusive.
So
sorry,
you know, so with Xbox not providing that incentive, it's like, well, what are we doing here? And there's no plan to change that. And market share is continuing to collapse with their new hardware, and they don't seem to be trying to change that narrative either. Like, this is an Xbox implies that your like fucking refrigerator is an Xbox so long as it has a screen and internet connection, right? So like, imagine 2 years from now where we go with that. And then imagine Xbox comes to you and says, guys, new console, let's go. You should buy our new console. Why? I already have an Xbox. You told me my phone is an Xbox. You told me my tablet is an Xbox.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, you should buy the handheld. I'm like, well, I've got a Switch. I have a Steam Deck. I'm not sure what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
Let me put a hypothetical.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Let me put a hypothetical to you guys then. When I hear that, I still only think that like that console would appeal to enthusiasts, the hardcore Xbox ecosystem people that just want that new Xbox hardware. They're going to be around.
Sure.
But then we have them making a handheld where they're partnering with somebody else. Yeah. Do you guys foresee any possibility where their next console down the line is like a co-partnered collaborative hardware to maybe offset Microsoft essentially dumping all their resources into manufacturing their own new thing, since now it's less of a priority for them?
I can absolutely see a future similar to that, where like Steam years ago proposed the Steam Box idea, never really went anywhere. And absolutely see that being where Xbox goes in the future. I mean, I've said many times that I view their hardware future being akin to like the Microsoft Surface, which is that, it's a product that they make. It exists, but it is not core to their business. It is an option that you can pick up if you want to. But
They're also
Microsoft,
pretty good.
say again?
They're also pretty
They're
good.
a good
too,
product.
like design.
Absolutely.
What
They're a
is
great
the-
way to enjoy Microsoft Word,
What is the Surface? Is what, the tablet?
It's a whole range of products.
whole line,
yeah.
But yeah, they're tablety laptops, and they're
Because
they're
at
very
GameSpot
good.
we have the Surface Studio. That's what we did audio logs on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which
those
is
are cool.
a massive tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But outside of that, or being, an artist or an architect or someone who, like, for me, there is nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just think that's where it'll go. And I think as well, and I said this in the news show this week, but like, I think we need to also remember where Microsoft's head's at now, where they're talking about, like, they made gross profit $171 billion last year as a company, right? They're not going to give a fuck about a third-party manufactured handheld device. Where's the profit margin in that for them? Like, they're not going to... Do they really care about the profit margin on console sales, given that their console sales are currently collapsing? There's no sign of that changing anytime soon. Microsoft care about, like, hardware-wise, Microsoft care about renting you their cloud servers, whether that's for enterprise or for
So
gaming.
then why are they doing it?
Because,
That's the
but
thing
what
that
I'm
gets
saying,
me.
like, I think, as I said, park it in the same bucket that you do Surface, which is that, like, they do it because it's possible. They can make a little bit of profit there. It's a nice little flagship device that kind of just like they can trot out when it's time for them to do consumer shows or whatever else. But how much money is the Surface business making for Microsoft compared to Azure Cloud Farms, for example?
Yeah.
Don't they usually operate at a loss? Console hardware, doesn't it run at a loss at least for the first few years?
For the first few years, my understanding that's been the case, and then they make it up. So again, does Microsoft want to run at a loss for hardware, hoping that they make a modest profit on the back end on year 6 or 7 if they get sufficient market share? I don't think so. So I personally am just of a view that none of this actually really matters that much at this point for Microsoft. I think Sony's console business, they live and die by that. Nintendo, they live and die by it. Microsoft, if their console comes out the gate and nobody buys it, I don't think it actually makes a difference to Xbox's overall strategy.
That's not their strategy anymore.
That's
they're not. The console wars are over. Like, it's not what they are trying to do is get as many people as possible to buy a Game Pass subscription and cloud-based video games, right? Like, that is absolutely what they're trying to do. They're a third-party publisher at this point.
Yes.
Like, yeah, we can't look at the sales of the Xbox and say the company's failing anymore. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly right. It's the wrong metric.
And so, yeah, it's actually just not the big deal that it was before, because it doesn't even matter to them as much. Like, it just objectively doesn't.
I think
you're
that's
right that there will still be Xbox fans who buy them. Again, I will totally buy it. I'll buy any new video game hardware in that, and I guess part of that is just like, I'm a fan of video game hardware, so I just have everything, and I always want to have everything. But I don't think that there is a need that it needs to be filled right now. The Series X is still a really good piece of hardware. The Series S is very convenient. Like, still a lot of stuff I like.
At this point, my priorities have changed, where I'm just hoping that, like, whatever with the consoles, I'm like, hey, as long as you guys keep helping back and produce and fund games, I'm like, okay, like, if we're not doing plastic boxes or it's deprioritized, like, what's the most important thing at the end of the day? The games. So as long as they continue to do that,
like those Game Pass deals, ID at Xbox, like all of those initiatives where they are funding games and discovering games and promoting games in a lot of senses, in a lot of ways.
Yep. I agree.
Great.
Do you agree?
Yes, we all agree.
Maybe that's a good place
it's
to
just
end
a weird
it,
adjustment
because
period. We have to look at the whole industry differently now. It's just
exactly.
I don't think we need to look at the whole industry differently, because I think Nintendo, same business model. Sony, same business model. But I think Microsoft, very different business model. I think
Microsoft could end up, maybe, like, things continue to change so radically and rapidly, especially with, like, how long it takes to make games, and those games being created actually outpacing the time of the hardware being manufactured. Maybe Xbox end up being this kind of like floating cloud publishing thing. They could be laughing at the bank at the end of the day, while all these other places are just still struggling to make their plastic boxes. Just as just a hypothetical, but
the amount of money that Microsoft has is truly unfathomable, and ultimately, most of the time, capital wins. Do you know what I mean? And so Nintendo and Sony definitely have a huge challenge in front of them by virtue of Microsoft's war chest. I mean, that's just a reality. I mean, Nintendo.
They're also just adapting to the needs of the stock market faster than the other two companies are. Part of like the current video game crash we're seeing is not that anything has crashed at all. It's just kind of plateaued, which is basically death on the stock market, right? It's still super profitable. But there is a need at this point for more gamers, and the data effectively says that casual gamers exist much less, and that is in no small part because TikTok or social media is stealing time away from people who would have been casual gamers.
Yeah.
Gen Z is not playing games.
100%. Where like we've
Not
lost
picking
the
up
casual groups. There's no the average playtime per week for video games is actually increased, but I think that's because it's more specifically hardcore players. We've lost casual gamers because they're just being stolen by social media. Like the video game consoles are effectively competing with social media at this point, are also competing with Netflix, are also competing with every other entertainment industry. So I feel like Xbox uniquely is looking at it and recognizing that problem that the stock market has, and is being like, okay, what's the easiest way to make video games as accessible as possible? I think they're probably trying to pursue a world where like you watch a YouTube video. We've spoken about this for ages, like since Stadia days.
Yeah.
You watch a YouTube video, you just click a link and you immediately launch their game on your mobile device. Like I think that is what they are trying to do. And I hate that future, to be clear. But if it succeeds, it is definitely the most viable one on the stock market. It's just not working right now. Like it is most likely to succeed in the long run. Because again, people are just being sucked into social media holes, and it's taking up almost all of our leisure time. Like I think it's something like the amount of time American adults spend on TikTok per week is like 100 million hours, like some insane statistic that used to at least go towards video games a little bit. People used to play a game for an hour in the evening. Now they just sit on their phone. So it's like the games industry and Netflix and all streaming services are trying to compete with all of that and don't know how to. So I think like the Xbox strategy of being like, okay, what if we put it on everything to make it way easier to launch a video game? I think will work out very well for them on the stock market in the long run, even though we all as gamers very strongly reject it because it's not the games that we like. But there aren't any more gamers left. Like they just have to figure out a way to get them.
We're gonna
It's
be
like a post-apocalyptic thing.
Yeah.
How do we make more?
It's 2225. The gamers
We're running out of gamers.
Children of men, there's no gamers. Yeah. How do we make more? How do we?
No. Oh, hang on. No, I got it. Bring back Xbox Snap, and just have Subway Surfers on the whole time with like a Reddit story being told in the game, but you can get your.
I love Snap, dude. That smart glass. Just bring it all back, dude.
Yep.
Bring back Don Matrick. Maybe
Don.
He was on to something.
God bless.
Yeah,
right,
it's
with
a
that,
weird landscape to be in for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think we should probably jump on over to something a little bit more positive. This is we had a conversation with Josef Fares, head of Hazelight, director, writer, and essentially lead behind the team at Hazelight that made Split Fiction, a game that we very much enjoyed. He's also the Fuck the Oscars guy, for context, for some of you out there.
He's a lot more than that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
movie director.
He's done
also director
shit.
of a million other, a handful of other really kick-ass games. Some people, I think it's easy to just get them in the door with. Remember that guy?
Absolutely,
that was cool.
Absolutely.
So we had a great conversation with him. We thank him for joining us. But let's roll that now.
Raycon, God bless them. They've been a big supporter of ours for a long time now. Couldn't do the podcast without their support. So God, much love to them. Raycon, you've all heard of them, of course. Affordable, high quality earbuds. Very small form factor. They stay in your ear. Battery life is fantastic. But they also just did a refresh of them on their everyday earbuds, and now they're even better, right, Jake?
Yes. First of all, the design is a little slicker, but it also offers multi-point connectivity. So if you're multiple devices bouncing back and forth, that's pretty cool. Also, the quick charge function at this point is like pretty insane. 10 minutes actually yields 90 minutes of battery, 10 minutes of charging, and you're good to go.
Sure.
It lasts for a while. And I think for me, it's like also amount of features you get for the price is really good. It has active noise cancellation, which is huge. It's not something you usually get at this price point.
Yeah.
It's pretty key. It's very
Super
useful.
important on a flight.
Yes,
Definitely.
it's a game changer, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, as I said, I own a couple of pairs, and the biggest thing for me is that they actually stay in my ears, because obviously there are other notable earbud brands that you might be aware of. Those brands don't stay in my ear. One brand in particular, and so the good thing about Raycons is they actually do. They're very comfortable, and yeah, sound quality is great. I have a few different pairs because I kind of leave them around. And to make it even easier to find them when they're around the house, they actually also sell these like cases for your case, so you can kind of like style them in different colors, whatever.
Little expressive.
You've got that one there. Yep. I've got the yellow one, so it's easy to spot. But yeah, they're really I very convenient, cost effective, and also make great gifts, because people always need a set of earbuds. Especially older people in your life who are not used to that technology. This is a great way to like get them into this stuff and be like, cool. And they didn't know how convenient it was to have something like this, and then they'll never take them out of their ears. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. You visit buyraycon.com/friends, and that will get you a nice 20% discount. That's buyraycon.com/friends for 20% off. Big thank you to Raycon for their support. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, check them out if you're interested.
Joseph, hello. How are you, man? How's things going? How's the team feeling? We're just getting off of reviews. Players are buying it. You've hit milestones. How are you? How are you and the team feeling right now?
Super happy and excited. I mean, look, for me personally, like every time a game is out, I'm kind of like done with it. I'm kind of like, okay, now is the next thing. But this has been a bit extra special because there's like, I mean, it's been, I would say that it's been the best received game we have done. But to be honest, like everybody's super happy, but I'm so fully focused and excited on the next thing that we already have started. Just want to say that. So I feel like super excited.
I do feel like this one actually got the reviews it deserved. And what I mean by that is I feel like It Takes Two was a few points lower than what it actually deserved. Like I remember when the reviews, that was like, wasn't that like I forget, it was like an 86 or 87 or whatever. I'm like, no. There's no way this is not above 90. Because obviously it's just harder for new IP to break through, right?
Yeah.
But, now seeing this game get this recognition, it's incredible. It's just,
thank you, man.
To see it.
Yeah, thank you. I think it ended up somewhere around 88. They had it in the team some kind of like guessing, where they guessed like the Metacritic score, and we had a couple of people who nailed it actually at 91. So that's great.
What was your prediction?
I think around I thought something like 87, 88, because I thought that you would remember It Takes Two as better, and you would have the idea of that because it won Game of the Year and all that you think that. But if you put them side by side, it's such a difference, and you see immediately that in every level it's gotten better.
Absolutely.
But to tell you this, I mean, we've been talking about this a lot. We in the team really feel like, oh, they really like this so much, we can do way better. That's the funny part. It's not like we're feeling now, oh shit, how will we top this or do better than this? We just feel, just wait till what we do next. So it's kind of like I know it's cocky again, but that's how confident we feel on what we're doing. You know what I mean? But the mood is super good and everybody's super excited, and it's always like it's actually very crushing when you hear about other team releasing a game and not getting any attention. Understandable, because that happens, but it's really I just wish more developers could have this success and really feel how it is when you really connect with the players, if you know what I mean.
You mentioned that feeling cocky, and we spoke just before the game came out at that preview event, and you were very, very confident then. Do you ever, I mean, there's even a reference to it kind of at the end of the game as putting something out into the world and wondering how it's going to be received. Do you ever feel doubt?
Look, here's what I think. I'm going to explain this. I found actually a metaphor of this because I get this question so many times. Am I confident? Yes, super confident. But let me give you a good metaphor. If you live in a healthy relationship, okay, the core is always going to be boom, great. I mean, you're gonna know it's perfect. There are going to be up and down. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be tough moments, but the core is still there. And that's what I always go back to the core of what split fiction is. And it's great. And that can't be like, oh, will it be good? No. because if you're not in a good relationship, you should have another relationship. So the relationship between Split Fiction was always like the core was great. But with that saying, was it challenging? Was it a lot of iteration? Was it back and forth? Was it like, let's do this, let's do that? Was it a lot of sleepless nights for me? Yes. So I worked my ass off and the team worked their ass off to get this right. But that's the difference. The core of it, the confidence that it's going to be great is always there. You see what I mean? So sometimes maybe I can be like seen as, oh, like this, like I sit in a chair and just relax and everything just becomes great. No, there's a huge amount of work behind it. So you get it, but that's a good metaphor to explain. But yes, confidence wise, I can tell you now what we're doing is going to be amazing. You know what I mean? Like because you know it, you just feel it, you know. And that's been going for me even when I did Brothers. I mean, at that time when I was new in the industry, I had a lot of pushback from, you know, both from developers and from publishers and everything. And they were giving me like, I mean, literally like all the pre-reviews of Brothers. I mean, I got like 4 out of 10 and like really low score of everything we did. But I was like, no, this is great. Just trust me, you know. So I really trust like I always point here what I feel inside here. You know what I mean?
But how do you get that over the line though, in terms of like getting people to trust you? Is it like kind of, is it fake it till you make it? Is it just kind of trying to instill that confidence? How do you do that? Because that's hard. Not everyone can pull that off. You know what I mean?
Probably not, but I think it's infectious. But the more, you're more. We're going to become a little bit philosophical here. Yeah, the more the more you connect with it, the more, the more it resonates with people around you. You know, when I sit with my team, there's a genuine conversation here. You know what I say? People say to us sometimes, "How can you be so fast and iterate?" It's only me and the team. So it's very open, creative environment as Hazelight. So if there's something that's going to be in the game, it's pretty much just me and the team. So everything goes very fast. So we have a very genuine, like and reflective discussion about everything. And I think, I mean, obviously, you know, like I don't know. To answer you, I think it's my energy that hopefully that inspires the team and that makes sure that they trust me and I trust them. It's hard to explain why, but I keep going back to, you know, stay with your vision and just keep to it and be as honest as you can. I think is the best way to describe it. You know.
Do you think you have an easier job in that regard because of the type of game that you make? You know, as in, I think it would be much harder to have that kind of passion, enthusiasm for what you're working on if you were making a different type of game, like a, you know, live service game or these sorts of games, which have a lot of things. But without going into that discussion, I'm just saying the type of game that you're making allows you to just have that kind of like unfiltered passion for this thing because there's no clutter around it. Do you know what I mean? Like it just is pure joy.
I mean, both yes and no, because if you look at Brothers and A Way Out, they're quite different of what. I mean, Brothers was a single play game, very different from what Split is today. I think you can have the same passion whatever you do. I mean, we will never ever do a live service game for obvious reasons, but I think you can definitely have that passion in whatever you do. I mean, I definitely believe it. It doesn't have to be like this type of game for it to be it. But I think what you're referring to, a lot of people are reacting to the variety of the mechanics. That is something, you know, that I've been pushing for since day one, since I made Brothers. In the beginning, I got a lot of pushback for it because of, I mean, that's not how you do games, and you have to, I mean, learn the mechanic and develop it and so on, you know, what you hear normally. And I kept asking, like, why can't you? Why can't you? I didn't get a good answer, you know. But that's obviously something that's been coming more and more into our games. And now that I have my own studio, nobody can, you know, say anything. So we can just have all the shit in there. But what I'm trying to say is that I think that passion and creativity can come in even if you're doing, I mean, like a normal type of game as well, if you know what I mean.
So rolling back to the start of Split Fiction, like what was the kernel of the idea and how did that whole pitch process start? Is it you just pitching it to the team? Like, I don't know how that process works at all. So
I can tell you, normally at Hazelight, we can talk some spoilers here, or
we're gonna, like we want to do a bit on at the back end about the last section of the game, but we're gonna do that at the end of the interview so people can like put a timestamp.
Sure, I can talk about it without spoiling it, no problem.
Yeah.
So normally at Hazelight, it's I can't show you what our next thing is, but exactly what it is that there's a storyboard like of all the beats in the game, like like I think, let me just look in my computer while I'm talking to you. I'm actually opening. Oh, I hope you can see my.
Just
you can
share
see
your
my
screen with us now
No,
so
no.
we can see.
I mean, you can
Let me
share
just
screen.
see. Normally it's yeah, no, I don't want to. I just want to see, so I'm not lying to you guys. So normally it's like, let's see. I'm actually looking at our next game now live. Yeah, it's around. Sorry about this. It's the wrong one. Okay, this one. Okay, it's around like, so normally when we have yeah, it's around like 100 and our next game, for instance, is like 130 pages ish of like beats of what's going on, like both like mostly in the story what's going to happen, but a little bit in gameplay as well, kind of like okay, this is where we start, this is where we're going, and then we have it clear like what levels is it, what's going to happen, what will the characters go through, what will they blah blah blah, who will they meet, and so on. And then from there we start testing and iterating different ideas, and from there the game slowly comes together, but it still follows the core of what the idea was from the beginning. In Split's case, it was a little bit a different approach. This case, it was like we didn't have that thing the same way, but that's what we normally do. But on the other hand, the first thing that came was the ending of the game. I I was just so excited because it just felt so cool and so different, and actually we started first experimenting a lot with the ending. That was our start, but then slowly like we came up with like, okay, it would be really cool to see if it could end this. I mean, I can't go into too much details,
Sure.
but that was the start of it pretty much. And it was a lot like that was intriguing for us was how can we combine fantasy and sci-fi. It just felt like a good platform for us, like the way we make games and the way we can, you know, just combine all the mechanics in a sense that kind of makes sense, you know, like stuff like that, because we're really big fan of like, and I think that the change in the mechanic is there's a, I think, because I've got this question also a lot. The reason for it is, I think, is more background from uh, movies, you know, of the pacing. I think we can become even better to pace our games even better. But I think it's important to have the variety, because sometimes I get the question like, why are we doing, like for instance, you play a couple of dragons and split it somewhere, and you play them for 10 minutes and they take like huge amount of time. Like just one dragon took like, I don't know, 8 months to just create that, and then you play it for 10 minutes. But I always compare to the, like, if you have a really cool scene in a movie, you don't replay that scene just because it's cool. You know, you have that scene there, that's what makes it really cool, that what makes it really like, oh, stick out. That's what, otherwise it would take away the like the effect of it, if you know what I mean. Am I answering too long for you guys? You want me to
No,
keep
this
it
is
short?
good.
No, it's
Good.
perfect. I mean,
'Cause-
it's amazing
'cause
to know.
We're just
It's
letting it
amazing to
go.
know that this game started with the ending, because the
Oh, yeah.
ending is
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah.
Like as I said, I reviewed it. Everyone agrees.
Mm.
It's an all timer. It's an all timer. You know what I mean?
That-
Like we talk about it forever.
That's what when I say like you're gonna see something they haven't seen in a video game before. People are like,
It's true.
I'm like, this game is fucking cocky. But
I was waiting for it the whole time. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see, buddy. And
Let's
then
go,
I was like,
man.
oh shit, I'm playing it, and I'm like, there it is. There it
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Oh, that's good to sound. Yeah.
So that idea started there, but then obviously you had to pitch it to EA.
No. We don't pitch to EA.
So you said you
Yeah,
had money enough from It Takes Two to be able to fund it, and you're like, you're gonna do it.
No. Here's the thing. People don't understand this. EA is a supporter. We don't pitch games to them. We say,
okay.
we're gonna do this, and that's it. They're not gonna say, they have zero, and I mean zero thing to say what we're doing next. With that said, I have to say they're a good partner. Nobody believes me, because whatever I say, they're like, yeah, it's EA. And look, I don't know anything about what EA are doing to us. Maybe they're fucking up with other developers. With us, no. They respect us. They respect what we do. And I mean, I am very clear with them that they cannot interfere with what we do. From that perspective, they're super. I mean, now we have become one of their most successful studios. But no, we don't pitch. We just say, this is what we're doing, you know? I mean, I never pitch a game.
And
man.
how collaborative is that process? Because obviously you're you lead from the front leader, but you've
Yeah.
got this idea in your head about this is what I want to do. How do you then bring your team on board to that vision so that they're aligned to it and get their input into it?
I mean, like I said, with the latest game we're doing is showing the storyboard, start talking about it, starting to iterate ideas, testing, and then from there, slowly it can start coming together. But you just know that, you know, it's such a, you know, people say to me like, when I say like we already start on the next thing, they're like, oh, aren't you tired? Don't you need to rest? You don't get tired and need rest, and you don't get stressed out if you really love something. You know what I mean? It's like it's you have negative and positive stress. This is kind of a positive thing. It's the opposite. You get like filled up with energy. Maybe I have also extra energy, obviously, in myself. So that's why.
So, from a leadership standpoint, how do you wrangle essentially making all these different little types of games in one big game? Like we always talk, I feel like the talk is like game development's getting bigger, crazier, more expensive, out of control. So when I see stuff like that, you guys have all these little mechanics that you have for a little while, and then you ditch it and you move on.
Yeah.
How do you guys make that like sustainably? How do you
Yeah.
how do you even plan that
Wrangle
and
it.
start that?
What does wrangle mean? Wrangle?
Like bring it all together. Like how do
Okay.
you
Yeah.
handle all that at once?
Sure. Okay. So look, we know it's in our DNA at Hazelight that we are gonna do variety, because that's been Sense Brothers pretty much have variety in the mechanics. We really love that. So what we have created is a lot of tools around the Unreal Engine that helps us making this possible. Our way of working, because we know this is how we work, that's how we approach a game. That's how we're gonna do it. Now, that is also the hardest thing at Hazelight, because we have so many different mechanics. I mean, you guys know this, like it's quite simple to prototype stuff, but to take them to a level where they feel polished and crisp and fun and nice, that's what takes time. So I think like we have become better and more mature as a team, knowing early what to cut. If we're like, okay, we're not going to take it to the level it needs to be, so we cut it early, or we're going to not able to take this. So we kind of like have a good hint of what we can do and not do. With that said, that is the number one key hardest thing at Hazelight, to take all these mechanics and get them to a level of polish. And not only that, because we set the players in a certain type of pace where you also get used to changing your mechanics. So we can't back. It's almost like we've given you a promise that we can't back away from. Because if we would do the variation in the beginning, then stop, that would feel, oh, it's way too long, it's weird, or what's happening. You don't question that in a normal game, but in our game you do. But we're fine with that. But as long as it's very important for us to keep everything super polished. But to get back to your, Lucy, about the confidence level, if I was confident about Split, of course, 100% all the time, not a single doubt. But did I have doubts? Will we ever polish this? Yes. There was a lot of nights where I'm like, fuck, will we do it? Oh my God, how will this, can we take that up to this? And can we, because there's so many like elements of like, design, the audio, the animation, the art, everything needs to come together, lighting, and cutscene, like everything needs to come together to really make it feel crisp and nice, but it's incredible. I mean, like when we look at the game now, we're like, what the fuck, we actually managed to polish this to a level where it feels really nice. Obviously we could have had more polish if we want to, but yeah, but yeah, that, hope that answer your questions.
Yeah.
Where did your love of co-op come from?
Well, okay, I'm gonna say this here. Look, Hazelight's, even if Hazelight is not an official Hazelight, Brothers is not an official Hazelight game, it's still a Hazelight game, because I directed it. Half of, or more than half the team is still with me at Hazelight. So, and that was a single play game. My love is for video games. If you ask me, like, will Hazelight do, only co-op? I will say yes. Co-op will be always part of our DNA, but you never know what happens in the future. It's not impossible we look into single play as well, but it will be done in a Hazelight way with a Hazelight twist. It's not going to be your typical single play game. But the love for co-op came from, I was sitting with my friend trying to find a game that wasn't just a drop in, drop out, or a shooter. I'm not against those games, but it's good to have both. You know what I mean? It's like, I was like, why can't we also have games that you have a character you can relate to, a story you can experience together, a game that is not about upgrading just something you're shooting or something you're leveling up, instead of like having a game that has this incredible variety, an incredible like a journey that you go together with your friend. So from there, A Way Out came up, and I was very, very, very keen as keen on like not brothers being single player, because there was a lot of pushback from the publisher. Why don't do it a single player? Because co-op with brothers, because the whole idea was to play it with one joystick because of the loss of brother and so on. And with the way out was as important, because if you stick with the co-op only, you design it and you write from the beginning as that, then it makes it way more special, and you can also focus on it very differently. Because a lot of people are unfairly in an unfair way saying, oh, Hazelight is bringing back the couch co-op. Now, in a sense we are, but in a sense we are not, because nobody has done what we have done, written and designed co-op only. I mean, if you look back at, split screen games, they always had a single player in mind, and then they did co-op. That's a different approach. But again, after a way out, we just realized, oh shit, there's so much stuff to be explored there. Let's push this further. And we just realized that not only can you create really memorable moments in the game on the screen, but also memorable moments in the couch. It's almost like part of the design is also in the couch. For instance, in A Way Out, where you just, without spoiling too much, like the dynamics between the characters on screen and on the couch. Like, if without spoiling, if you go in on YouTube and look at the reaction, how people like look at each other like, what the fuck is going on? Or when you're like in the split and the ending, there's so much going on in that. And I just think that there's so much to be explored from a creative perspective. And it's also nice that that Hazelight is kind of part of pushing, because that's what I want was Hazelight be part of like a, pushing our industry from a creative perspective forward, because I truly, like you guys, love video games. I love video games like so much, like it's crazy. Like I just, like, every time I see a new game, I'm like, I just walk around and look. Like that love is like it's really hard not to. And I'm extremely proud that being part of this industry, to be able to actually affect this industry. That's not even a dream come true. That's like a, I don't know, like a universe, a reality, mind fucking thing coming true.
Because what kind of games do you play? And obviously, like, the love of video games is so clear, even in Split Fiction, because there are so many references to other huge games, which I kind of didn't expect. So what do you play typically? Do you kind of dabble in everything, or are you
I try to
completionist?
Yeah, I try to play. I mean, I have to have 2 kids. I have a company to run here, so it's like luckily, I only are in charge of the creativity at Hazelight, so it's not like all the others have great people helping out here. So I've tried to play everything. I mean, let's say the recent games I played, I completed Indiana Jones, the latest one, which I thought was a great game.
Oh yeah.
I played before that was Stellar Blade, completed that. So I completed them, and then right now I'm playing a little bit of Yakuza, but I tend to stop playing them after 10 to 12 hours. I think if they were shorter, they would be better. So, but I still like
Pirate
them.
one's pretty short.
Yeah, but it's still like, for me, after 10 to 12 hours, I'm like, okay, I think I'm done here. Still thought it was good, but it's not like because I have to, like, I don't have so much time, so I literally try to play everything, like as much as I can, but but to be honest, it's 85-90% because I love playing, and 10% because it's kind of like just to know what's going on out there. But no, it's actually more, maybe 98% because I love video games, to be honest.
How do you guys approach game length to your games? Is there like a natural endpoint? Do you have a set time you want it to be usually, or
we have, but I think, to be honest, like look, there are stuff we can become better at Hazelight, and one of them are pacing. I think we can become even better at pacing. I still think we hit quite good in Split, but I believe we can become better at that. So that's definitely something we talk about a lot, and that we feel. I mean, when we do our post-mortem and stuff, I mean, we have different aspects of the game already in Split we feel we can make better, and that's one of them.
How much tends to be on the cutting room floor in the way you guys make games? Like, because it seems like it's like Idea City. Crazy.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of stuff that you guys ditch
Look,
and leave behind?
when I say people we fuck shit up without fun, I'm telling you, like it's crazy. Like, people are fucked up here, but in a good way. Like no, in a good way. Trust me.
Good.
Like, when we talk to each other, they're like, yeah. I'm like, so every time I see, like, I mean, if you just talk to them, I'm like, you're fucking up, and they're like, always. It's always like that. And just now when I went to lunch, a great designer here, and I told him, like, how you feeling, man? I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, hey man, you still have the you know, you can still talk. He's like, yeah, you know, we joke here that you're so fucked up that you can't talk anymore because you totally lost it. You know what I mean? So that's the like what do you say? That's how we talk with each other here.
Sure.
I got so excited, I almost forgot your question, Jake. Was it what was the question again?
Ideas you leave behind, like how
Oh,
much
yeah,
ends up on
sorry.
the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Sometimes my head goes to different ways.
No, you're fucked
Okay.
up. It's good.
Yeah, I'm fucked up. Yeah, exactly. No, it's hard to say an exact number, but I would guess somewhere between 20 to 30% is cutaway-ish.
Wow.
And there are many reasons for that. Some of it don't follow the vision. Some of it don't follow what the story wants it to be. Some of it is obviously, we can't polish this. This is going to be very, very hard. Because again, going back to it again, when people play our games, when they drive a bike or something, they want it to feel like a driving game. If you do combat, you want it to feel like a combat game. As a player, understandably, they don't understand that, to make Devil May Cry, they work on that mechanic forever. But we can't. We just have a certain amount of time. So that's one of the reasons why we cut stuff early. But around 20 to 30%, I would say.
Just before we move on to the next kind of set of questions, like, how do you decide, you know, what each player is going to be doing in a way that keeps them both engaged, both on pace, without one feeling like, oh, my ability is not as good as what the other person's playing?
Yeah.
You know, how do you keep that momentum going?
Well, that's also something we can become even better at, that we feel that we can become better at that. But that's something obviously we put a lot of work on. Not only the tricky part with making a co-op only game has a lot of challenges. And I mean, one of them is like creating mechanics that feels nice, that feels fresh, that feels different, but most of all, that they complement each other very good. And also very important, that makes you and the player communicate with each other and be dependent of each other, but not too dependent. You don't want to feel like you can't progress anything without them. But there's a balance there. You know, how much do the player needs to talk to each other and whatnot. I mean, that also affects how we tell the story, because we need to be sometimes over telling stuff, like almost like explaining stuff too much, because people are like not listening and not reacting, and like, so we need to be like, okay, if you don't say this, they're not going to understand. So it's all kind of connected, but I would still say, like, and I mean, one thing is that we try to take all those mechanics and try to make sure that, you know, every character has a cool, unique mechanic to complement the other person, and that throughout the game you feel that it can. For instance, like if I take the first level in the first level you play, the sci-fi with Mio, is that you see that in the beginning, you know, Zoe is driving the car, and then Mio is driving the bike. So you kind of like both get like so there's always like a balance of like, you're doing this, I'm doing that. And we've seen reactions where almost like where players are talking to each other and thinking, oh, I got the cool mechanics. Oh no, I got the cool mechanics, which is a good thing. That means that we have succeeded in a sense. But it's always like that. So when you put out all the mechanics there, you need to like balancing out. So it feels like a very good balance. But that's also, I would say, one of the toughest challenges we have here. But there's a lot also. All the art that needs to be made for every level is crazy.
Yeah, that part was unbelievable. Like stepping into every new level, every new skybox, everything. It was crazy. The amount of work that you guys must have put in to produce that. How big is that team now, But how big is your team now?
We're 80 people-ish.
80 people. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so did you scale up a lot after It Takes Two, or is it the similar size?
It Takes Two was around 60.
Okay, right.
Or maybe
So
62, 82, 83, something like that. Yeah.
And do you feel like development felt similar this time around? Like overall ebb and flow, or you're like, nah, man, this was way crazier, this was way tougher, like way everything, like.
Yeah, this was obviously a bigger game, a tougher game in many sense, more challenging in other sense. But you have to remember, we also have become a better team, a more mature team. We do know our tools way better. We are from a technical. It was very nice, to see from a technical perspective. People really appreciated that as well. Like I saw that Digital Foundry really liked from technical, like how it runs on consoles. So it's more challenging, but we also more confident in what we do. And, you know, more confidence makes greater games. And it's spreading. The confidence is spreading in the team.
And well, it is. And I mean, like, I want to ask, what's the latest count on number of units sold?
Oh, I mean, we did like 1 million in 48 hours. I mean, I don't know I mean, I know, but it's looking very, very good.
Okay.
I mean,
okay,
it's looking
good.
people. People are really. People really want to play Split Fiction. Let me tell you that. I mean,
Definitely.
it's very promising, and it's really nice. I mean, we're still a AA company. Like, this is not a AAA game. People have to remember that this is not a. But we are outdoing a lot of AAA titles from that perspective. So that's kind of like a something to be proud of, to reach that, without having that amount of PR money or so on.
For sure.
Mm.
And I mean, what would be your advice to because obviously now you're on a list, very small list of game makers whose names we actually know, as in game directors and whatever. What would your advice be to the next generation of game making talent that's coming up who wants to
Oh.
make games? What would you say to them?
I would say, look, if you compare to movies, they had such a long time of finding ways to tell stories, to make great movies. I would say we're still early in video game. Let's focus on what video games can be and not too much on the money. I keep talking about this because I think it's very important. I'm not saying this just for the fact. I'm saying this to kind of push our industry forward from a creative perspective. Because the problem is, if we focus too much on a financial side, we will stop the evolution of creativity. That's why, for instance, I don't like when game developers patent game mechanics or gimmicks. I think that's very bad because it stops us. I think it's very bad when we focus on microtransaction life. So I know they're making a lot of money when it hits, but that's still not good for us because it's still stopping our industry from a creative perspective. So if I could choose, and what Hazelight will be, it's always focusing from a creative aspect for what game can be. And I think we just scratched the surface. To be honest, I think just from a storytelling perspective, I mean, you do have some games who have reached a really high end story in a game, but we're still figuring out how to tell a story in a video game. There's so many things to be explored, and I just hope that money and the finance side doesn't take over. Now, with that said, there's also a responsibility for the developers as well to try as much as they can to have a clearer vision. What do they want? What do they not want? Because that's also knowing a lot of inside information. Look, if you want to see the world in a black and white way, you will always say it's the publisher's fault. But here's the thing: there need to be a balance between. There need to be a developer who understand and have a clear vision. There need to be a publisher who respects and can support that vision and meet up in the middle. We have good example of that. If you look at Naughty Dog, you have Sony, who's Sony's biggest a publisher, and then you have Naughty Dog, who's one of the greatest developers on earth. And when they come together, look what we get. Rockstar is another example. Nintendo is another example. Hazelight is another example. Where EA Hazelight meet. You know what I mean? So you can, and that's why my wish and hope for the future for video games, because at the end of the day, we all want to play great games. That's what it's all about. And I understand people need to have money, people need to have food on the table, but all examples I'm taking up is mixing great games with also good finance. So it doesn't, I'm not saying let's just be creative, fuck the money. No, I understand that people need to have money, but there needs to be a balance where we meet in the middle. Fuck, I talk a lot with my hands all the time. I see going up
Good,
and
man.
down.
We'll get the video podcast. People can see. Don't worry. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, it's on video now.
It's on video. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then you can see the hand going like that. Yeah, but it's you talk with your hands, But did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's especially the last part, because obviously. Oh, sorry, Lucy. Are you there?
I'm cutting a little bit.
You're cutting it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think you did, and I think that point you made at the end there about balancing the creative imperative with the financial realities, and that I think is, I imagine, very tough for many developers, because that's certainly what we hear a lot of, about, in terms of coverage. So,
can we squeeze anything out of him about his next game? What do you
I was going to say maybe we do that before we.
All right, let's go in there, Jake.
Yeah, but there's a reason why I can't talk about the next game. It's because it's quite early. But I mean, you do know at Hazelight we don't work with games more than 3 or 4 years, and I mean 3 or 4 years is not so far away. Then we're gonna talk more about it. I mean, I can't talk about it. It's way too early, but it's gonna be. Just know this: we are very, 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 very excited here. Very excited, and we started working on this. I mean, month ago ish.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. No
Yeah,
time.
it's,
No downtime at all.
no, man.
That's
No,
wild.
no time. No
That's
time,
wild.
man.
Fair
Good.
enough.
Okay, that was probably the most rizzed up way of we're not currently talking about this at this
Yeah.
time. That was good.
Yeah.
All right, I think we should talk spoilers. So
Hmm.
if anybody is listening and you haven't finished the game, I would say please definitely go finish the game. I think it's worth your while. I'm not just saying that because the guy is here. Play it and come back and listen to this. So now we can dive into whatever we want. Before we talk about the ending, who is the monkey? Who did the mocap for the monkey? Is it one of you guys internally or?
You mean the dancing monkey?
Yeah.
It was actually a dancer. We took in a dancer who did it, and he was really good actually. He did all the moves and everything, and
Yeah, it was very
and
striking.
the voice for the monkey is actually the same monkey that we did in It Takes Two. I don't know if you remember Moon Baboon. He's the same guy,
Oh,
and he's such a funny guy. Because I remember like when going and making at that time It Takes. I went to the studio. He actually took off his clothes and did the monkey. It was like really, and he's a great. I mean, not in a sexual way, just like that was just him as a character. He's a really beautiful guy. He just took it off and like just went for it. Such a nice guy to work with, and I think actually he did it here as well. Even if we did it like remotely, because I wasn't in that recording, but I know that they told me like he took off his clothes. I'm like, maybe it's his thing. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I've gotten the
should we
elephant
just
bit
jump
too,
into-
by the
you
way. Elephant
Oh,
2.0.
yeah.
That trophy.
Oh
the
yeah.
one with the in the cyber ninja
Yeah.
area, the little Easter egg.
I can
That's
say
the one.
one thing though. I know that the people have been finding Easter egg in the game, but there is something in the game that is super hard to find, and
Okay.
when you find it, it's meaty and it's tremendously hard. Tremendously hard. I would even be safe to say that you guys who are gamers, I'm not sure you would. I'm gonna give you at least 3 hours. I can bet in 3 hours you won't make it.
Do you
Oh,
mean
it's
like
one
it's
of
a
those.
platforming challenge, like a
It's
challenge?
it's something very extremely hard.
Okay.
And I would be very surprised. I mean, I don't know how
Okay.
skilled you are, but I think that
Not that skilled, not that skilled.
at our team, we only have a couple of designers that have finished it.
No way.
And
Yeah,
and no one's found it yet.
No one's found it yet. No one's
Wow.
not found it yet. No. That's but eventually people will find it, but I
Sure.
just let them out there be, and we'll see if people find it. And there's a fun surprise also.
All right. Shit. Well, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
In terms of like dramatic bits or comedic bits, like carrying the turtle, right? Carrying the turtle all the way to the lava pit and dumping it, right?
Yeah.
That took so long. Do you guys debate how long that walk takes? Like things like that? Do you guys hash out seconds and milliseconds?
No. In that case, actually, it was way longer before, but we just cut it down, so it felt like a little bit faster. Did you react? Was it too long? You think?
You cut it down. Wow. I was
Yeah.
like, oh man.
No, it was
good, though.
longer. It was longer before.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
Ralph, you look like you're itching to ask
ending
about the
wise,
Yeah.
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 So in the question sheet, we had all these questions written out, and the last question is just for the ending, and the question just reads, "How the fuck?" That's the question. Okay? For
Yeah.
the ending, how the fuck? That is, just talk us through this ending, man. How did this happen?
Okay, so again, like I said in the beginning, I wish I could show you something because I have like some really early. Look, it was something I told like one of our tech guys. I mean, there's obviously been very, very challenging from a tech perspective. So I mean, I don't know the exact tech behind it because, you know, I was like,
Sure.
we have to do it somehow. They're like, okay, we'll figure it out. Like,
Must be nice, Joseph, just
Yeah,
to be like,
like, you
just
have to,
make
like-
this happen.
Yeah,
And all these
make it
people
happen.
are like,
Like, I remember the meeting where we had, we're like, okay, we're gonna push out the screen and open it and stuff. It's just again like you know, that's where we went total nuts. I mean, it felt like, I mean, we tested. Let me say this in the meltdown, we cut away some stuff as well there. We changed a lot of stuff there. There was a lot of back and forward we could use and not use. But the first time, I mean, we did it the first couple of months when we did Split was actually footage of that. So it was actually the footage where we did kind of like a reference video. You you could see like already that would become really, really good. So we kind of figured out how to do it already there. But then to take it to a level that feels nice to play and everything, that was like, oh my God. There was a lot of iteration backwards because the whole ending is a kind of a boss fight, you know, with the like how it goes back and forward. But it's just like a, you know, I don't know how to explain it. We worked with that throughout the whole development. That's how
Really?
challenging. Yeah. I mean,
No way. So for 4
Meltdown.
years.
Yeah, I mean, Meltdown is something that we just came back and forward, like pretty much like from beginning to the end, when we finally nailed it. But I mean, I'm extremely proud of what people could do. I just see people react to it like, what the fuck? You see people
Yeah.
stopping and like, wait a minute, what? You know, like that's actually amazing. You know.
That's what I liked about it the most is that, so for A Way Out, for me, the ending of that hit from a really exciting story standpoint, and like the two players, and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe that. This time around, when I played through this, it was the two of us playing and marveling at the technology and just being like, I don't know how the fuck they did this. How does this even work? Is it double duty? Is it essentially two environment art, or like doing the art, doing the music, doing the effects, everything at the same time?
Yeah. That's what it is. We are actually thinking of having some kind of talk about this, you know, and put it on YouTube just to like for people.
GDC or something.
Yeah, because a lot of people are talking about just taking like you know, designers and coders and just put together something, because I think that would be very interesting, because we've been having already a lot of questions about this.
Absolutely.
And speaking of twists, Brothers had a twist in the end as well, and It Takes Two actually had a twist as well in the ending, but that didn't work out, to be honest. But that's already on YouTube actually, if you want to see it, because it's a twist that didn't work out because we were going to combine the characters into one. But it didn't really function. But people found it in the code and took it out and put it out on YouTube actually.
Wow.
So if you're interested, look at it. But it didn't work gameplay wise, so we had to cut it away. So we had kind of a kind of a twist to that in the end, where they were gonna the whole idea that the characters were gonna melt down to one and become a heart that you control or stuff. That's out on YouTube if you're interested to look at it. Someone found it and put it there. But so in a sense, I don't want to say it's our thing to always have a twist in the end. I don't want to us to become like the, you know, the M. Night Shyamalan Sixth Sense twist and ending, but it's kind of become our thing in there. But this is in Meltdown. It is actually, I would say, the perfect way of like surprising people, of like coming to a point where you like combine the fantasy and the sci-fi in a way that's really never been done like this before. I mean, but damn, it was challenging. Yeah, it sure was. I mean.
You can see how challenging it would have been. Sometimes you watch you play games and it's no doubt very hard to make it, but you don't really pay attention to that. But as you were playing through this, you're like, fuck man, this must have been so hard to make. You just were like feeling that every frame. You were like, how'd they pull when it starts spinning and like, you know, based upon where you move and the screen spins. I was just like, how on earth?
That's also a thing. Like when we saw when we did some early tests for the audience, like there were, you know, they reacted very, very positively to that. But there were some like, oh, I feel sick with this, and when things are. But again, like we just felt that it felt so nice. I mean, we did some, you know, some cutting in Meltdown, like took away some stuff and added some stuff, you know, just because like, and I think also because people haven't really played anything like it, because it's that's a lot how we test our games. We make sure that people understand what we're trying to do instead of changing what we want to do, you know what I mean? So they really are getting it, you know. But Meltdown has always been it actually, like the name, it's a meltdown in the brain, kind of.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I felt it, definitely.
And now you're working to top that for the next game.
Yeah, man. Good luck. Jesus.
Look, okay, talk to me when the game. We will see. But I mean, as a totality of topping split, I believe we can do. I have a confidence that we just feel like when we talk in the lunchroom or we talk to each other, we're like, oh shit. I mean, we feel that we can do better than this. You know, that's how like a confident we feel, and it's people are very happy and excited. It's a very happy place, Hazelight, actually. Come by when you're here and you can see for yourself.
I'd love to.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
In Sweden.
We have a really, really, what heter I'm talking Swedish to you. we have a really like a happy place here.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
All right. Well, with that, I think it's a good place to leave it.
Yeah.
Joseph, thank you to you and the team. Congrats. Great work. Thank you for making something that we had fun with, but also like
Amazing.
feel something.
Thank
Totally.
you.
That's
Thank
really
you.
important. So good luck with the next game, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you,
Very
guys. Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you,
see you.
Next up, this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Factor. Factor, if you don't know, delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. They have all different options, add-ons. You can essentially set a box and have a bunch of meals come for the week for you. A couple of minutes in the microwave and you're good to go. It really takes like some of the thought process out of eating. Am I right, Lucy? You're new to Factor.
I'm new to Factor and I'm loving it. I can't tell you, like, as a busy modern professional, no, but as someone who is not really good at making shopping lists and figuring out what to eat, having a bunch of these in my fridge and just ready to go. Like we record late, and so after this, I'm gonna be just hitting one of those Factor boxes, putting it in the microwave, and I know that I'm gonna be eating something that's tasty and that's actually dietitian approved and is not just full of gross stuff for me in minutes, and that's a huge lifesaver and time saver.
Yeah, and the biggest thing again is options. 40 options across 8 dietary preferences. Like keto, calorie smart, protein plus if you need protein. Just a lot of options, a lot of add-ons like smoothies and juices. Factor really does have something for everyone. But seriously.
Yeah, no, it really does. Like, I've been so impressed with the meals that I've been getting delivered, and like I said, it is just delicious stuff at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
it takes all the brain work out, and I'm just like, yeah, this is good to go, good to eat, and I'm
That's
thrilled.
key.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like to just focus on you, whether you're working
Focus on
or
gaming. Let's be
focus
real.
on gaming,
Focus
grinding.
on
Yeah.
gaming.
But whoever out there listening, if you're, a busy working adult or a busy parent, or maybe you just have an off week and you need a backup plan, Factor really slots in for everybody in different ways.
Yep. So if you want to eat smart with Factor, you can get started at factormeals.com/FPS50off. If you use the code FPS50off, you get, might surprise you, 50% off your first box plus free shipping. So that's code FPS50off at factormeals.com/FPS50off. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring this episode.
All right, we are back here with a user question. This was submitted to our email, which is contact@friendspersecond.com. You can also submit questions to our MyZone, our
MyZone?
Our MySpace, our
Just had a
ICQ
Our
account,
Bebo?
and very
Our
soon
Dig
our
account.
Skype
Fire.
account. When they shut down
Yeah.
Skype, you can contact us there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So send us anywhere you want. Send us smoke signals, whatever. This comes from Bence, who says, I really like your guys' work. FPS is my favorite podcast. You guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is the following. What's the funniest thing you guys ever heard or saw in a video game? It can be a mission, quest, dialogue, character, weapon, cutscene, anything. Something that made you burst out laughing. Wow.
I liked this
Damn.
question. I thought it was like a nice little one.
Is this just gonna be, go on?
This is tough. It's hard to recall some stuff. One thing that I always remember is there's like a whole thing in the Deadpool game with like Wolverine's ass, and it was just a bit with like Wolverine's ass, and I just remember that being really funny. And that was like before, Deadpool was popularized and kind of like the humor was kind of dug in by the Ryan Reynolds thing. So that was cool.
I'm trying to think, like my one of my favorite things, it's not because it was the game itself, it was because I was playing a game with it was back in the Overwatch days when I used to play with a group, and it was one of those great moments where when everyone's brain just kind of breaks.
Yeah.
And my friend Pete was playing, and he was, I can't remember which character, but he was like trapped in a room, and he was a small character, that's maybe like a Mei or a healer or something. And someone played as Reinhardt came in, and he couldn't remember the name of the character Reinhardt, but all he could say was, "Daddy's coming." because the person's username was Daddy, and then he couldn't remember the word right, as in he's coming from the right-hand side, so he just yelled, "Daddy's coming from the east." It was one of those ones where it was like this perfect storm, and we all just like fell apart laughing. And so now every time I see Reinhardt, I'm like, and there's Daddy.
He's coming from the east.
He's coming from the east.
Yeah.
I have definitely laughed a lot playing Sea of Thieves, but that's similar in that it's player generated. Game itself, I cried laughing playing Deadly Premonition 2. One of the easiest ways to make me laugh is like if something is just like so absurd that I then have to picture how somebody made the decision to put it in there. And there are so many things in Deadly Premonition 2 that are just so absurd. But one of the ones that I cried laughing is like you're in like a thrift store type of thing, and there's some sort of like you're having a conversation with whoever's behind the desk, but there's some sort of like alligator wearing a hat or something, and for some reason the camera keeps cutting to the alligator even though it's not relevant, I think is what happened, and I straight up cried because it was just the decision making in the choices of shots and framing just killed me. Like it was totally irrelevant but just so hilariously positioned, and I think that game is like uniquely full of stuff like that. It's just the choices are incredible.
I love that.
It's very
I
good.
love that.
Actually,
Also, shout out to Thank Goodness You're Here.
I was going to say, I'm just surprised you weren't
Yeah.
missing just thank
there
goodness
was
you're here
good.
gags the entire time. So
I mean,
I was
I
very much
could.
expecting that. I
Peens.
look, my brain doesn't work this way where I can just like recall stuff all of a sudden. Or
It's
off the
tough.
top. But I will say, I played through High on Life. Okay. And I'm one of the people that actually likes Rick and Morty humor.
Wow,
Okay.
what a
Wow.
admission.
High IQ, you mean?
High IQ individual, very high IQ.
Yes.
Now
That's
I
at
know
Szechuan sauce.
a lot of
Yes.
people roll their eyes at that. I get it. I think it's fair. Personally,
There's some good bits.
I'm into it, and there's some
That's so-
fucking good bits in that game that legitimately got me, and I actually really enjoyed that game, despite how obnoxious it was most of the time. That is
Yeah.
my take on that. So
That game, yeah, I think I enjoyed High on Life more than I was expecting to, because I never got into Rick and Morty, but also they hooked me in because they promised Tim Robinson. So
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There was, I have like that like kid brain humor too. Like I replayed Conker's Bad Fur Day
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and even when I played it as a kid on Nintendo 64, when like the flower has big boobs, and I'm like, this is incredible. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen
This
in
is
my
peak
life as like a
art.
10-year-old. But still to this day, I think it still really hits the little dialogue bits when you grab the money. All the money has like a little happy face on it, and they smoke a cigar, and they're like, "Hey, you greedy bastard!" And I just think that's the funniest fucking thing. It always hits, and I always just like say that out loud to my friend. I'll be like, "Here I am, you greedy bastard." It's really good.
Nice.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean Yakuza as well. I think Yakuza.
Oh my
is
god,
very,
yeah,
very
the
funny.
goddamn baby. I just,
Six?
it's just incredible. Yeah,
Six,
it's
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
one of the best cutscenes of all time. Yakuza consistently very funny.
Yeah.
Even playing the opening parts of Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii,
The musical
just
number. Oh my
so
god.
delightful. Just, I love Yakuza so much.
If there's any game that I'm playing and I always have a big smile on my face, it is Yakuza. Like we did a thing a few weeks ago. I think did I talk about this when we'd had a couple glasses of wine and we were waiting for our friend Jen to put the baby down, and we were playing Yakuza. And so she came back up and she'd been gone for about half an hour, and we were all just doing the tests in the little center that you go to up your skills and stuff. And she was like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like, "We're doing exams. We're having the best time." It's what a stupid game. I love it.
I have
Incredible.
one other one I had to like really rack my brain for. It wasn't even an intentional comedy bit, I don't think, but it's actually a Way Out. There's a scene towards the end of A Way Out. I think it was like one of the characters' children. Like you meet like one of their family, and the kid is there, and the graphics for the kid did not look that great. Like he looked
like a City
looked
Project
pretty
Red
janky.
kid, for example.
But he also had on a t-shirt, and it was just like a very low res, like almost like a placeholder image. And it said something like, it was like a fake superhero, and it said like the Unbreakable Crab Man. And I remember seeing that and just bursting out laughing. Just the little things, you know?
Oh my god!
Did you guys ever play that crab fighting game, by the way, where you're like fighting as giant crustacean kaiju
Dark Souls
in the
one?
streets? No. was like this fighting game where you play as like big kaiju. They're like giant
Oh.
crabs, and you can like pick up
no.
rockets and stuff, and like hit each other with rockets.
Does it
And
destroy
That's
all
cool.
monsters?
no, I forget what it was
or-
called, but it was very cool.
Damn.
Very good.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing though that it like I know there are games that are like full on comedy and like comedy writing and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but they don't always immediately come to mind. It's
There's-
always like the weirder,
There's not
smaller
many of those
things.
games though. Like when Thank Goodness
No.
You're Here like came along. It's like, when was the last comedy game before then?
also hard
There
to
is
do.
no. What is it? There is no game. Wrong dimension is very funny.
Okay.
It's a very. Is it? There is no game.
I haven't played Thank Goodness You're Here. In what way is it funny? Because like comedy in games is
British.
hard because it's so timing based. You know, in the same
Yeah.
way that horror is.
Yeah.
Like it's so much about timing and payoff. And I remember when Matt and Trey were working on the South Park games that they found that really hard because you can't control where someone is looking at any given time. So it's like difficult to deliver comedy unless it's just a cutscene.
Mm.
So I feel like the things we're recounting and the things that tend to work are usually player generated or environmental.
Yeah, because thank goodness you're here. I think the characters that you speak to, and first of all, the comedy comes from you're a weird little guy and all you can do is jump and slap.
A lot of visual patheticness that's just
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
But also they're really good at kind of the repetition and building on a joke. You'll kind of go through the same areas multiple times, and so there's one where you go down someone's chimney.
The chimney guy is
The
so
chimney
good.
guy
Yeah.
is so funny. But I think the other thing is that like, each character that you speak to is so uniquely weird, and everything they say is just very funny, just very bizarre, very out of pocket, very British.
And that's all dialogue, like text, right? Like it's
And voice
not
acted, yeah.
cutscenes. Oh, it's voice acted as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Good
but
voice
no, cutscenes are very, very minimal. And there's one very good one at the end. It's also only like 3 hours, so I would
Oh,
recommend.
no
you
way. Sold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
a tough thing to do without being obnoxious, I think.
Comedy in games.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want more of it though.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I
And
want
not
more
just
of
like
that.
chuckle worthy writing, like all out make a Seinfeld game. That would be
That's
that would
the
hit
peak of comedy?
We were talking
I
about
think
how
Let's Go
we
Curb
were,
Your Enthusiasm game.
yeah, we were talking about how we're losing gamers. That's how we'll get them back.
With a
Yeah.
sitcom from the 90s.
With exactly.
Actually, no. Actually, Gen Z.
Get lit
Gen Z
up,
loves
into that.
Friends. They love
They're
Friends.
comfort watching Friends. Yeah,
Do
my
they?
youngest
Yeah.
sister watches Friends
No way.
constantly.
Okay.
I'm like,
Say,
this
is
is
it like
so
the
weird.
Skibbity Toilet game? Like, is that
I
what
actually
we
think
have to
Skibbity
do?
Toilet. Can we?
Skibbity Chandler Riz. I don't know.
I think
What are you
Skibbity
about to
Toilet
say?
is incredible.
So, okay.
Am I allowed to
Skibbity
say
Toilet.
that?
What
Okay.
did you say? What?
I've only seen
Skibbity-
the Skibbity Toilet short. That was like the
Yeah.
original Skibbity
Yeah,
Toilet
yeah.
thing. Is there any? There must be
I don't know what
lots
it
of
is.
things on top of that for it to have achieved
Yeah, they-
this level of cultural cut through. Is there anything else
They
other
keep
than
building
that?
on it.
Isn't it
They
like
keep building on
hundreds
it,
of
but it's the same
episodes?
shit.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's hundreds of
it's the
episodes,
same
okay.
like source engine. Like
Garbage.
I actually don't really know what it is.
so, it's. No, I'm not gonna.
No,
But can I just?
at the exact same time, I caught my hand in my chair, so that reaction
say,
was maybe not.
We got to get the Gen Zers into this podcast
right.
too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's your demographic
Exactly.
here? It's Skibbity Toilet. from
Skibbity
now
Toilet
on.
Riz.
No.
There is a good thing about hearing about Skibbity Toilet and being like, oh fucking here we go with these kids. Let's see what kind of Roblox bullshit is this. And then I fired it up and I was like, oh, this is just source memes.
Yeah.
This is funny. This
Sure.
is great. Like the relief that came over me, I was like, the kids are gonna be okay because they're
We had
laughing
those
at like
back
a
in the day,
Gary's
too.
mod bullshit thing. You
We
know,
had that
like
back in the day. Yeah, we just
Exactly.
like,
Yeah,
I'm
you're a wizard,
franchised.
Harry.
Yeah, or the my special eyes. You know,
my brand. Yeah,
My bro. Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
Shrek is love. I miss Charlie the Unicorn. I really wish they made a Charlie the Unicorn game. I really wish they did that.
They kind of did, didn't they?
I don't think so.
They made something similar.
Did they?
I could see
Adult
like an
Swim made
E-Bombs
something.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
E-Bombs. Well, fuck me, that's old.
I think they're still
Man.
going.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, bro.
How many booms would E-Bombs World get these days? 3 booms? Boom! That's right.
Brain
No, I
rot.
only know about Skibbity Toilet because of like a friend's kid who tells me about it every time, and so I'm not like he like frequently updates me on it. I'm not like fundamentally against it or anything. I think I reject it on principle, which is how you know you're getting old.
Do you know what we didn't have back then was like, well, kids are really into like creepy, fucked up horror shit these days. right? I don't know if you.
Salad fingers, dude.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
we did.
What was
Ralph's
that?
like
Those-
50.
The animal.
Ralph's like 50 years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, true. It's not in his day in the 70s.
But like,
What
I
are
was.
those kids? Those the animals that would murder each other.
Freddy Fazbear?
Nope, it looked like a cartoon, but these animals were pillaging. I don't remember what it was called. It was also like a salad
wait.
fingers era.
Oh, it wasn't like Happy Tree Friends, was it?
Yes, I am thinking
Yeah.
Happy Tree
Yeah.
Friends. Yes.
Well, you're right. I guess I'm just thinking about it because I'm like kids that I meet these days. They're all like watching creepy clown shit, and like I'm just
Yeah.
like, whoa, dude, what the fuck is
I
this?
guess
But
we
they're
had
super into it.
Slenderman.
Yeah, we liked that stuff.
Sort of,
too,
but like
I think.
we didn't sit there watching
like I was
50
an
hours of
adult by then.
Slender Man like
Yeah.
shorts or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
We get it. You go outside. Oh, Ralph touches grass. Wow.
What was the
Go
other
play
one?
tennis.
So let's to be clear, back then there was no grass touching. There's a lot more grass touching these days than there was when I was growing up. That's for damn sure.
I'll brag about it. You touch grass now.
way to sell out.
Fuck me, I guess.
Fucking weak. Oh man.
Oh my
Anyway.
God, Ben, thank you for your question. That was a great question. All right, let's move on. All right, now let's talk about games. God damn it. The video games that we've been playing this week. The first thing I think we should just dive right into, since we already had that wonderful conversation with Joseph, is Split Fiction.
Hell
Split
yeah.
Fiction is quite the experience. So I've played through it. Ralph, you have. Lucy,
Mhm.
Alana, no?
I've
Okay,
not played
Alana,
it.
we're going to pitch you. So
Can we
Buckle
do
up.
it without spoiling too many
Absolutely.
mechanics? Because
We
I
are
feel
not
like
gonna
the wonder of
spoil.
these light is how creative they are.
Absolutely.
yeah,
For sure.
nope.
What is it?
So it's a co-op experience, very similar to their previous games like It Takes Two, but the pitch this time around is that you are two women. One is a sci-fi author, one is a fantasy author, and they kind of get jumbled together in an animus. And essentially the game is kind of always changing up what types of worlds you're in, and you're going through it with somebody. And like their previous games, it's designed very much around creative co-op gameplay experiences, right? But also those experiences are designed to get you and the person you're playing with talking, ribbing each other, like laughing, complaining, getting frustrated. And I think that's like part of the charm, really.
Mhm.
Ralph, who did you play with? Did you play with like a significant other or like one of your mates
Just
that
a
you
friend.
watched all your Marvel movies
Yeah,
with?
the Marvel guy, Marvel friend. So it was
Marvel guy.
perfect because
Shout out to
we
him.
never actually play games together, and so it's actually it was nice to do that. You know, the last game I think we played together was It Takes Two.
I like
This
that.
is it. But yeah, no, I mean we just had a fantastic experience. I mean, yeah, it's just straight joy, man. That's what it really is, you know. And I think as a critic, you're kind of playing it, and you're like, you're comparing it to this and that, and you're sort of like picking holes in it, whatever else. And I was doing that as I was playing through it, and we'd have some like critical conversations while we were playing through it. But then all of a sudden you turn some corner and some fucking insane thing pops up that you've never seen before and you can never have expected, and you just both have massive smiles on your face, and you're just like, who cares about any of that shit, man? This fucking rocks. Do you know what I mean? Like
The games are so delightful.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You just your critic brain. It's so irrelevant when you are faced with that amount of sheer creativity and joy. It's like, why nitpick shit? Do you know what I mean? And obviously, I did have some things to say about the writing and whatever else, and I wasn't the only one to say that because it wasn't quite as strong as the rest of the package. But just as a force of nature kind of experience, it really just felt like this big tidal wave of joy that just sort of washes over you for 12 hours, and that's remarkably special and rare, and it was fantastic. So
what gets me about their games more than anything is that there's so much gameplay variety
absolutely,
to the extent that like it feels impossible.
yes.
They must have just incredible scoping internally. So like, do you feel like this game is significantly different in terms of gameplay variety to their previous games, or is it like roughly the same? Like, did the creativity blow you away having played their other two games?
What I'll say is that this time around, the without spoiling any of them, but like the gameplay mechanics, the new shakeups you jump into are more gamery. Where in It Takes Two, it was very much like fun variations on cutesy co-op, and you and another person running around. Where this time around, it feels very much more tooled for like just like I don't know, like a little bit more of a challenging gaming experience and embracing subgenres in gaming and running with those for a little while. And
There's also a lot of references to other games.
oh yeah,
And
it's
some of them
definitely a love
are
letter.
mad blatant too.
Oh.
It's lovely. Like it just feels like this kind of celebration of, you know, the sci-fi and fantasy genres, but also a lot of the games that you can tell the team has
That's
played.
cool.
Which I
Absolutely.
and that's the thing, especially the side stories, which were some of my favorite moments
Must play.
where
They're all, you can't
They're
skip
really
them.
good.
you can't skip a single one. I love them because they'll be, yeah, in terms of the variety, that's when they'll be really kind of
Like it's like side quests.
No,
yeah.
not
So they basically have
quests.
well, kind of. It's just like a mini level.
Yeah, exactly.
They call it a side story, but without spoiling, they are some of my favorite moments in it.
Yeah, because the big difference here is that like It Takes Two had these a linear sequence that dropped you into different scenarios for a bunch of time, and then it would kind of build those
I mean,
mechanics
different rooms,
sequentially.
right? And so everything would be
Yeah, exactly. Themed
themed
around
that
that
way.
room or space, and then you would fight a boss after an hour and a half or whatever, and then you would go into a next and would just roll through that. Sorry, this is the same, but you spend slightly longer in each of those main scenarios, and the mechanics evolve even further. I think they become even more challenging and more sophisticated.
That's cool.
And then to break that up, there's also these little side story bubbles that you kind of leap into, and they're completely separate from the thing. Totally different settings, totally different mechanics, and they last for like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. And then it drops you, when you finish them, it drops you back into that previous world that you were in. So structurally, it's different, subtly different, but it still feels the same overall. You know what I mean? It's still,
I guess in It Takes Two, they had the PvP, not PvP. Well, it is.
yeah, those little
PvP,
challenges
like
that you
the
do. I know
challenges.
Little
those
competitive
ones.
parts, yeah.
Yeah, but it was
that's
also
true.
in keeping with the fact that, hey, they're this couple who's getting divorced.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to be butting heads, and so might as well gamify that.
Sure.
But no, the
We're
side
getting
the side
divorced.
stories-
Might as well crush you in the snowboarding section. Like,
before I crush you in the courts for child support. I don't know. But yeah, the side story is really good. And also, one thing that I did really enjoy about Split Fiction, I can't remember if they did it in It Takes Two, but there's a lot more signposting in terms of where you actually are within the story. And so I was playing with a friend of mine, and we were like, oh, I don't know how long is left in this chapter. But because each of the big levels, of each of the big sections are a story, they would be like, hey, this feels like we're coming to the conclusion,
Yeah.
or I feel like the finale's coming, or hey, what about a side story? So here it was really nicely signposted, so I kind of felt like because It Takes Two, which I loved, just kept going. They
Yeah.
had so much to it, and it was so much bigger than I think anyone really anticipated. And this one's a little Split Fiction's a little bit shorter, but yeah, they had this nice, I don't know, like, hey, don't worry, big boss fight coming up.
Yep.
So please be excited.
it's interesting you mentioned that, because it is different when you're playing with somebody else. When you play by yourself, you're just like, whatever, I'm going and I'll stop.
Yeah.
When you're playing with somebody, it's like you kind of both have to like agree to be like, I think this is good. I think this is maybe we
Yeah.
come back to this.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for them to have to be considerate of, right? Because like these are kind of the only game recently that I can think of that functions exactly this way. And
Yeah.
they've still done the thing where you buy a copy and your friend plays it free. Is
For
that right?
free.
And it's
Yeah.
crossplay now as well,
Rules,
so you
man.
can like.
And it's
crossplay.
already
That's
sold
insane.
1 million copies. Like, how awesome is that?
I think he's intimated it sold well and truly more than that in our conversation. He's
Yeah.
about. I think they're about to.
Oh, that's just the data that we
I
have.
think, yeah, I
That's
think,
just-
well,
yeah,
I
I
think
think
also
he's-
maybe he just got like hey, that's a nice clean number that we'll release.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, I wouldn't be
The
surprised.
reason I haven't played it is because I'm waiting to play it with my boyfriend, but we're in different countries
Of
right
course.
now, and because we played It Takes Two together.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that you only have to buy one of them, and they're the only games that I can think of. The only other thing I can think of recently is Escape Academy, that
Yep.
like is
Oh, yeah.
really designed that way,
Yeah.
and it's
But it also
It
it
just-
really reminds me
so
because I
good.
remember like because Halo Infinite shipped without co-op, and it never actually delivered on co-op at all. Did I think they canceled it altogether? Am I
correct because I didn't play the campaign because I was waiting for it because I've
That's
only
right.
played Halo co-op.
Yeah, and it really I reflected on that as I was playing through it because I'm like, what a damn shame, because
Yeah.
it's a very special thing for you to be able to sit on a couch with someone and play a game through with them. It's like it's a real thing, and Halo was so much that back then. That was an incredible
Totally.
part of what that game was, right? And for them to not deliver it, they didn't deliver it in Halo. What was the one 5? They didn't deliver it in 5, and they didn't deliver it in Infinite, and it's just really made you remember, like, yeah, couch co-op matters, man, and it's
Yeah.
important And it's awesome that Hazelight are sort of protecting in the way they are. And it'd be really nice to imagine that it inspires other developers to do the same. However, it seems to have not, though, because like It Takes Two came out, and it's not like we've had a whole raft of
2020?
copycats since then.
No,
Like we've
nobody
had
touched it.
time, you know, and
Yeah.
even like something like Astrobot or for example, like you could have designed that.
God, that would have been cool.
Do you know what I mean? Like you could
Well,
have.
I'm
And
just
it's
thinking, yeah,
not
even for
a
Astrobot, did you play like Rayman Origins or Rayman Legends? I think Legends is the one that had the
Dope.
co-op. But
Yeah.
it was like so geared for kids because you would just play as
Yeah.
Murphy, and it
cool.
would be much easier, and it was just like a really nice way. And you know, Astrobot, when we talked to Nico, he was like, "We're very aware that this will be some people's first game," and it's kind of like, well, how are you gonna,
Yeah.
you know, if you want to have multiple kids sat around the TV playing something, I think that would be a really nice addition. Because yeah, I mean, I'd forgotten how much I love playing games co-op. Like having my friend sat next to me, we had so many kind of running jokes just through play. Alanah and I played with Andrew, and so we had this really nice, like, really great time. And it's funny because Mio and Zoe, who are the two characters, obviously kind of get split up and you get different abilities at certain points. And it would be kind of like ribbing each other about who's getting the better ability and
Player one, man.
who's
Player
doing
one
what.
cleaned up. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Player
Yeah.
one's
Yes, I did.
dude.
Andrew-
Always the best one.
There's a bit where I'm not going to spoil exactly what it is, but let's just say one character can do some really cool stuff and the other one can roll and climb leaves.
That's so true. It's so
when
true.
we were playing, I was like doing all this cool stuff and Andrew was going, "Oh, any leaves for me over there?"
That was the big one where I played through that. I'm like, that job fucking sucks. I'm so glad I'm not you right now, you know?
But it's cool that that's part of the design.
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're saying, you're making fun of each other for those things. So it kind of works in its favor because even though one of you is doing stuff that's boring, it makes it funnier.
Yes, definitely.
Like it works so well especially because you're expected to be in the same room, or at the very least you have to be talking.
Yeah,
You know, like it
absolutely.
even when it is boring, it works in the game's favor.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. I just think they're so well designed. It's amazing that they make those games
Yeah.
at all. Like I think a lot of other studios would outscope themselves and really struggle to push them out, but they do, and they're such high quality. And
it's like,
I'm
it's
interested that
80
it sounds like this is more. Sorry, go ahead.
There's like 80 people as well on this studio.
Yeah.
Just insanity. You know, the level of quality, the scale of it, just thin up. It's unbelievable. You know, it really
Well,
is.
I think the thing that he said that stuck with me from our chat was that, you know, a lot of the people have been with him
Yes.
since Brothers, A Way Out, It Takes Two. So like you have that group of people who work really well together, who obviously enjoy their jobs enough to stick around and work on the next project. And so I think that's something, you know, super special.
Maybe there's something
it's
in
also a
that for other
testament-
studios who want to retain their staff long term. I mean, that's you know, something to think about. Publishers, just
Makes
a
you
thought.
think.
Makes you think.
They're not worried about that. Well, they're just going to lay them all off. So
That's right.
who needs retention?
It's interesting though, because like with a game like this one in particular too, is that failure can be fun, and it's funny to like watch the other person fail.
Absolutely.
And especially how the game will, you know, experiment with like the split screen where like every once in a while one character's screen will be a little bigger to highlight something and it'll shift and you know, it's kind of like you're on display.
Yeah.
And that leads to like this whole other meta enjoyment factor. The one thing I pointed out in my review is that I found this one overall more challenging than It Takes Two.
Right.
Because
I was yelling, "Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive."
Oh my,
way
that was
more.
like the catchphrase of while you're mashing triangle, like stay alive, stay alive, stay alive.
Oh no, I changed that to hold.
Oh,
very,
good,
very
good.
quickly. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm just not
sure.
gonna mash anymore.
Yeah. I think that is significant because it's almost like now I like to think, at least in my household, it's like we're becoming like a Hazelight household where I played with Amanda, my wife, and she played It Takes Two. And you know, it had its challenges, it had its moments, but for a casual gamer, you get through it. My sister played it. She told me about how she got through it. And now Split Fiction, I feel like it's a little sweatier. It demands a little bit more of the player, and I think it's a good progression from It Takes Two. So it's almost like okay, if you stick with these games, by the end you'll be like a capital G gamer, because this one does have experiences where it's like, hey, hopefully you can move with one stick and aim the camera with another stick and shoot, and some people struggle with that. Like casual players often struggle with that, and you know, it's the game makes you deal with that, and it's kind of also fun sometimes to carry the other person. That's the thing about this game, right? It's like failure can be entertaining, carrying the other player can be entertaining. Like it just kind of all, they've come up with this like weird solution, this weird concoction that just I like all of it,
Yeah.
except the story. The story didn't really.
So that didn't work for you either.
I've
The
seen some
story.
criticisms,
Is this,
yeah.
you on the same page?
I wanted to ask you it this way.
Yeah.
The story of the characters didn't totally hit for me, but there was like one or two moments that still made me feel some emotion.
Oh yeah, of
I
course.
think, yeah.
And I was like, all right, okay.
Of course. And I think like, yeah, but I think that's I totally agree with that. But I don't think that's necessarily a sign of like good writing, if you know what I mean.
No.
Like just because you can throw some trauma at the screen and then obviously people will feel things as a result of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
What are the issues with the story? Because I wonder if like part of it is that they have to struggle even implementing story, or they would have trouble implementing things that they would be worried about people missing because they assume people are talking the whole time while playing. So I wonder if they have to cater it to be casual.
No, I don't think so
because of that?
I think a lot of the story happens in cutscenes where neither player is playing. I just think it's an overall weakness in writing, and I think the same sort of thing happened in It Takes Two, where it's just kind of characters aren't really developed as well as they should be. Plot points and events don't quite land at the right time or in the right way, and there's just a sort of
It's all
sounds bad.
so close.
There's just a scruffiness to the writing. It sounds terrible, like fucking it sounds whatever. But like I think that's probably just a good way to describe it. There's most of what you think should be there is there, but it's just not kind of tightly tuned enough, or it's quite in the wrong place or whatever.
Interesting.
And I think if you
It's
had
also like a little. It's very predictable. Too.
Totally,
There was nothing in there that
Yeah.
surprised me. I think everything is kind of signposted
yeah,
exceedingly
definitely.
well, not well, but it is very signposted. But like we've been saying, the things that have been surprising me were the gameplay.
Yes.
And certainly what happens. I'm not going to spoil it. We had the spoiler chat within the interview with Joseph, but like towards the end, it's like that was the oh holy shit moment. But nothing like that I think happened in the story. I mean,
No.
the main bad guy, Raider,
Looks like Andrew Wilson.
did look a little like it. I mean, the fact that the machine thing is called the machine.
It's just a big
Very on the nose.
It's a big
Yeah,
it's a
it's
big
just-
sort of metaphor for AI
Oh, yeah.
stealing stories from writers and whatever else, which I think
Yeah.
is fine. I mean that part didn't bother
didn't
me as
mind that.
much as
Don't
like
mind it.
it was really just about these characters just being kind of boring and very predictable and one-dimensional. And
I mean, it's clearly not a priority for them, right? Where they shine is
But-
gameplay. But I wonder if, like, do you think it would be better if they had less story? Like, if they just stopped trying?
No. I really, and I said in my review, I'm like, this is the kind of experience where if you can nail that story thing, this becomes like a truly this becomes a next level experience. This is an incredible video game for sure, right?
Yeah.
But if you nailed that story in the same way that like Pixar nails their stories or whatever, and you just had
Oh,
that
man.
emotional thing, like, dude,
Yeah.
this is the kind of thing you want to put in
Untouchable,
front of people
Yeah.
and be like, no, you have to experience this because of everything, including the story. And that puts it into a different tier. And I think this is a really strong, like 9 out of 10. Absolutely. And if it nailed that story in the way that I would have hoped, then it's a clear like 11 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just got all
Yeah.
those ingredients to make it that kind
But
of.
it doesn't have any of the, like, Marvel writing problems, right?
No,
like,
no,
it's
not
not
about
that.
that.
Okay.
Not about that. No,
I think they're very
No.
quippy.
There's
They're
a lot
very,
of
like,
lot of puns,
yeah.
which I appreciated. And also Zoe as a character is very British, but she kind of has like the lamer things to say.
Yeah, she
Like,
definitely does. She's super lame.
Yeah.
I think she's like if an American wrote a British person, but then I think Josef Fares is actually Swedish, or I'm not actually sure what's his ethnicity. Is he? I don't
I don't
know.
know where he's from.
I don't know where he's
He's got
from
an accent.
originally.
He's European.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I believe he's
he's,
Lebanese.
Is it Lebanese?
Swedish?
Right.
I don't want,
yeah, I
yeah.
wouldn't miss. Yeah. So
yeah, Assyrian.
Assyrian. Right.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
there you go.
Swedish Lebanese is from Assyria.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think it doesn't hold the game back. This is what I said in my review. It doesn't hold the game back, but it does stop it from reaching that next tier where you just can't shut the fuck up about this thing because it just knocks everything out of the park. And I really hope on the next game they get some more writing support because I think it's 2 games in a row now where they've kind of like there's been this kind of scruffiness. And I really hope they just get some different perspectives in there to really tighten this up because I think, it would be really great to have that.
But overall, it is
Great.
Just
Incredible
must
game.
play.
great.
Yeah.
Great
Truly.
game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad it's a little harder because that is the thing about the previous games is I respect the intent that it feels like they're casual, that you could play with somebody who's not a huge gamer, but for me and my partner being gamers, that feels like something that like we would probably
Yeah.
enjoy it significantly more. So I'm looking forward to that.
He said that there's something in the game that no one has found yet
Yeah.
that's really difficult and that only like 3 people in the studio were able to
Oh,
do.
cool.
So
So the hunt's on. Go find it,
the
people.
capital G gamers.
Please report back if you find it. We
Go
wanna know.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, definitely a recommend.
Oh, absolutely. Strongly recommend.
Speaking of recommends, does Lucy recommend Expedition 33? You got to preview
I
this.
did. Well, that's the thing. Another segue we could have had is another game that I really hope keeps up the momentum because what I played rocked.
Okay.
Oh man. So Expedition 33 is the first game from Sandfall Interactive, a bunch of 30 or so devs in Montpellier. A couple of them worked at Ubisoft. And that's kind of been like the main narrative is that it's ex-Ubisoft devs and really like 2 of them were there. And I think one of them was maybe like a product manager or something. So like
Okay.
kind of not really the same as people from UB Montpellier spinning off. But anyway, a lot of the devs there, they said it was their first job in gaming, and so very young team. Yeah, and this is a game where every year this entity called the Paintress paints a number, and everyone that age and older dies or like disappears. They kind of, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
We got to start doing that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
what?
Anyway, and so it is a turn-based game, very heavily inspired by Final Fantasy VIII, elements of Persona, older Final Fantasies, and what the selling point is that it's not just a turn-based game where you set up your action and just sit back. You have to react and parry and dodge. Like their main inspiration for that was Sekiro. And it turns out the game director used to practice speedrunning Sekiro. So
Oh my god.
it's a fun
Cool.
thing. Stacked cast.
Yeah. Big time.
Charlie
Yeah.
Cox is
Yeah.
Gustav. You've
Amazing.
got Jennifer English from Baldur's Gate. Thingy from Lord of the Rings. What do you call him? Andy Serkis. And some up and comer called Ben Starr.
Never heard of him,
Who?
but okay, sure. I'll take
Never
your word
heard
for
of
it.
him. Music is throw questions at me because I can.
Yeah, I have questions because I
Yeah.
got to see a little bit of it a while back. I got to see like the underwater level.
because we
and
saw
I
it
got-
at Gamescom. Yes.
Yes. So I got to see the underwater level
Yeah,
and I got to see kind
played
of like that house that they live in or like their little base mansion stuff.
So you know
Do they
that mansion?
keep- Yeah.
It's because the game studio is a mansion in like it's a mansion in the
yeah.
French
That's cool.
countryside.
So all that stuff I saw, I was like, oh man, like this collectively is something I haven't seen in like a movie or a comic book or a video game before, like vibes wise, design, art direction wise. Does that continue like with what you saw?
Yeah, it's very French. Like it reminds me of. I mean, we talked about The Order like last time, but in terms of a lot of influences, that's definitely in there. But I see in like especially the costume design for the characters too. There's like Dishonored, and that was a French team too, so you can kind of see that in there too. Like these
so
very
cool.
beautiful pieces. It is very confident. Like it's kind of. I think the thing that gets me the most is like the story incredibly confident and just kind of not having characters be these expedition dumps, which we kind of talked about with Avowed, where you'd meet a character and they'd be like, hey, this is the whole reason why this happens and this is the history and this is my role in it. How are you? This one is definitely leading with emotion, which feels kind of very French to me. But also it just feels more like a grown-up story. These people, they risk the last year of their life to try and help other people. And so instead of, for example, in the menus, when you're like pressing ahead and you're looking at the post-battle thing, it doesn't say next or skip or whatever. It says we continue, because that's the mantra that the expeditions say. It's like every step, every incremental step that they take is like we continue is for the other people, like the people who will come next. It's like we as a race, as humanity, will continue. But in terms of the actual gameplay itself, when I first played it, because I played it twice, I was like, I don't think the telegraphing's very good. I was really struggling with it for a bit. It's very strict with its timing. It's pretty tight. And then I played it again and I felt like I could see through the Matrix. I was landing combos. I was doing parries, countering. I said this to Tam and he obviously disagreed with me because he's a big FromSoft fan. Landing a counter in this game is more satisfying than any FromSoft game.
Oof. Okay.
Which is
I can
huge.
see why
No,
Sam would get
like
upset
that.
about that.
I want to hear that.
Like just from the windows is so narrow, but when you do it, the rumble of the controller, the swell of the sound effects, the slow-mo and the power that you can see going from your counterattack, it's just, God, it feels so good. And then they have a really interesting magic system, which basically makes you feel you are working 3 steps ahead pretty much every single time, because when you use an elemental magic power, it leaves a stain on the enemy. So if you use, for example, there was an ice power and it would leave a certain stain on the character, not like a visible thing,
Ew.
but just like yeah.
Is it like a passive effect?
So then when you use another ability, it can be powered up by those stains.
Okay.
So you would be like using one power because then you would know a next character could use a certain ability and that would be amplified. And there would be other moves where it's like I could shoot at them and it would mark the character, which would then they would take double damage. But then you could also use an ability where it's like, oh, on marked characters it does this, or it applies
cool.
burning. So it's like all of these things. And I really struggle, and we talked about this with, like Gen Z doesn't have an attention span. My attention span is shit. And so turn-based games I love, but I can also find myself switching off and kind of going through the motions. Whereas this one, I was actively engaged the whole time and just thinking ahead and planning. And so I just really hope it keeps it up. I really hope it keeps it up. There's some weird shit in there. Like there are these mimes that you find. And these mimes are super, super difficult bosses, and they give you cosmetics when you beat them. And I found them, and they're just these little freaks that I found. And also the overworld map is Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah,
Like it's
I like that.
And the music's beautiful, and I don't know.
I like how much is it like, because there are like it's all like beautiful and handsome people, but then there are all these like weird creatures. Is it like a world filled with creatures, or are they like just all special one-offs?
No, there's tons of them, loads of different kinds of freaks.
Yeah, like there's that thing you can like ride on,
mm-hmm.
or like it's like your friend or whatever.
There's a bunch of like these little haunted guys that hold little mines, but they're balloons. They're in the underwater level. There's, I mean, the main one that stuck with me were the mimes, just because I was battling against them so much because I was desperate. Because apparently, and I asked the devs, and they were like, "Oh, you just have to keep countering them," and I was like, because they do multi-hit attacks and it's very difficult to counter all of those.
So what is it? Is all the like if you time those perfect dodges or those counters, like are those all? Because when I saw it, those were optional. Like it's for bonuses. Is that still the case or no?
So when you get attacked,
reward.
There is no, like in a Persona or whatever, there is no guard. You whereas there is in Persona, you can kind of like defend yourself to take a bit less damage. In this one, you can either dodge. And so dodging has a pretty lenient, I would say, window, but there is a perfect dodge, and sometimes you can get AP for your perfect dodges if you have this ability unlocked. Countering or parrying is a much shorter window, but you have to do one or the other, otherwise you're going to get hit, and you do take a pretty significant amount of damage. You can use an accessibility option to... So I think the thing you're thinking of is when you attack, you also get quick you also get quick time events to do extra damage. So you can use an accessibility option to not do those. But I don't think it works on dodging or parrying, which I think is something they should.
So those are necessary. So those are more necessary.
You gotta do those.
Okay.
So how hard is it? Like, you're saying timing is compared to Sekiro, which I love, but like, how much damage do you take? I assume that's not like it.
No, I mean, I found it pretty fair. I think in some boss fights, the last boss fight on my first turn, I turned it down because I was like, I just have to finish this demo. Because also I was flying the next day, so I was like, I gotta go. I don't have the time to spend on this. But also, as soon as I got to grips with the systems and making, like, my combat was singing at the end of it, basically. Like, once I got that down, it was so much easier, and I would be doing people in like one turn. But I think it's pretty tough. But like, I don't know. I would be interested to see. I mean, I know like Andy Cortez played it, Hyam played it, and like a lot of people are really, really enjoying it. People who enjoy Souls games and
Cool.
turn-based games. So it could be. I just really want the momentum to stay,
Yeah.
because because if it hits, I think it could be something really special.
It
I was
looks
going to say game of the year contender, maybe.
Maybe.
For me,
I'm really excited about
it. appeals
it.
to
Really
me
looking
big
forward
time.
Yeah.
to it.
Like,
Me too, yeah.
this is big, high on my list.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Very cool.
All right, Alanah, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Midnight Murder Club. You guys heard of this?
So
Have you seen
what
this?
is
You
it?
know
I've
about
heard
this?
I know
the name,
nothing
but I
about
haven't.
this.
Yeah.
So it's in early access. I also played like a closed beta. It is a multiplayer game that is more akin to my days playing GoldenEye on the 64 than anything I have played since then.
Mm.
Very, very fun. There are several game modes. Your regular deathmatch is a lot like Man with the Golden Gun, except that you have microphone input, so you can hear vaguely when people are near you. And you're in
Ooh.
these giant mansions. So, like, if someone's in a room next to you and they're talking to someone else, or you hear them scream, it is hilarious because you're just hearing like little pieces of people dying around you, and you can generally figure out where they are by listening to them. You also have the ability to turn a light on and off, like you have a torch. I forget what Americans call that.
Flashlight?
Flashlight.
Yeah. So you have a flashlight.
We call it
Say
a
it like
flashlight
that.
as well, Alana.
Not in Queensland, we don't,
Yes,
mate.
you do. Okay? Yes, you do.
It's a torch. Thank you. So you can turn it on and off. It is pitch black with it off, unless I've done my
Oh,
settings wrong.
cool.
You can't see anything.
All right.
But you will still hear people around you. So you'll sit there kind of in silence occasionally because you think someone's going to walk into a room, wait for them, shoot them, they die in one hit. But you can't see where you're going if your light is off. So you can see other people's lights through doors. There are windows that are basically just grates. You could see where they're coming from. So there's like so much tension in that. And I have this terrible habit of whenever I feel that amount of pressure in a video game, I constantly throw. Like, I just am terrible. So I'm really, really, really bad at this game because I basically like panic when I see anyone and misclick consistently, which you definitely can't do in this game. But it's super, super fun. Like, there's a ton of just like tension and hilarity in that I
Yeah.
similarly to like the way the Split Fiction presents itself, like that I haven't really found in a lot of other games. There are some other game modes. I haven't tried all of them. One of them that I enjoyed the most is a 2v2v2, where you basically have to like open these safes. You get a piece of a mask, and there are kind of rounds, a different layer of safe opens. So if you can build the masks together, then you drop them off at a vault. So there are some interesting strategies in that one. In like, if you're killing an enemy team, you could pick up their mask pieces, build the full mask, and then run to the vault. Or if you get killed, basically your only option is to run straight to the vault, hope you can kill someone with a full mask, steal theirs, and drop it. So there are like some really interesting strategies around that particular game mode, which is like, do we want to lay low, try not to be seen, try to like find these safes and avoid other teams to see if we can put a whole mask together? Because I think it's like a complete one's like, I don't know, $1,000. Smaller ones might be a few hundred or whatever. And by the end of all of those modes, you're trying to have made the most money. So it almost feels like Payday-esque in a
sure.
way. Again, also in a way that I've not felt like Payday has felt like in a while. So yeah, there are, I think, 5 or 4 game modes in early access, which is what it's in right now. And they're all like very distinct. They're also like, I've tried some fun stuff. I did this in the closed beta previously, where we just for fun tried to do it without shooting, so it was like slappers only,
Okay.
because that worked. When playing GoldenEye back in the
that
day,
mode
and it was
back in the
also
day.
very fun because it's also one hit kills with just slapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'm enjoying it a ton. It's like, I don't know how much legs it has as a multiplayer game, but it's something like it has. It's just so delightful in no small part because of the way the microphones work. That I can see myself having this be a go-to party game almost in the way that Among Us was several years ago. It's genuinely very, very fun. And performance is great. Like, there's nothing about it that stands out for any other reason than like fun game to play with your friends on microphone. But for that, having a great time, really enjoying it.
Yeah. How do you, if you're like, how do you move around if it's pitch black and you can't see anything? How do you move around without the torch being on? Like, can you see anything? Can you see like some broad outlines of?
Nothing.
So you could
Um,
just be pressing forward and you're just walking into a wall the whole time and you wouldn't know it unless you turned your flashlight on.
Correct.
Okay,
So
wow. I
you
love that.
either see what is in the room, turn the light
Right.
off, figure out where the door is, or you flick it on and off.
Do those ones.
But a lot of the time, you're just waiting in pitch black because you think someone might walk into your room, and usually they'll walk in with their light on,
Right.
so you'll see them.
And you shoot them.
And they will not see you, like in the
So
dark,
funny.
if they walk in straight away. So yeah, you can't see anything again unless I've done something wrong with my
No,
settings.
yeah,
But when I was playing with my friends, I was asking them, and everyone was like, "No, we can't see
Okay.
anything," which is again also I think a really fun choice.
It's very
Like
cool.
you can't see shit. It's
so
really
weird
good.
that this is a Sony game.
I know, I keep forgetting that it's a
because
Sony
this is
game.
actually
is?
yep, it's a first party
Yeah.
published Sony title. It's coming
Oh, wait, who?
exclusively to
Yeah.
it's from the developers that made Knockout City, right? And they went
Oh,
and
holy
they've-
shit.
and they've made this
Yeah.
Knockout City, by the way, really great game. They did super well.
Very-
Well,
so fun.
very critically acclaimed. People loved it, but obviously it just didn't have the legs that EA needed to keep it
Yeah,
going.
that's already offline,
It's
isn't
already
it?
offline. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Mm.
great that they went from EA to Sony because it's hard for those sorts of studios to find work right now, or to find publishing deals, I should say.
For sure.
And it's just so weird that Sony looked at this and thought, yeah, you know what? Let's have a crack at this. But I really love that they did that. It kind of feels like, obviously Sean Layden and Shu are always talking about like that golden era of Sony just like fucking around and trying shit out and getting weird and whatever. This feels like that kind of decision making where they're like, let's try this weird little thing and well, let's see how it goes.
I think the magic in it is also immediately obvious. Like
Right.
your first round, you get
Got
it.
it.
You
Yeah,
get
yeah.
why people are going to enjoy this game. So it would actually be pretty easy to show a publisher
Yeah.
and be like, here's what it is. Even if they're bad at games, an exec can play this and be like, oh, I get it. That's hilarious.
Sure.
So it's probably
Mm.
very easy
to
to
pitch.
sell. But
yeah.
it was super surprising to me that it's a PlayStation game. I don't feel like Sony's advertised it.
Absolutely not. It's
At all?
criminal how little they have
I don't
pumped
know
this.
why they do that.
It's almost like they're embarrassed about it. Like, which
Or
I've
it's because it's still early access. Like maybe they're waiting.
I've heard good things about this game as well from other people who
Super
plays the closed beta. It looks really fun. I don't know why Sony isn't throwing some more weight behind it because it's just they just haven't mentioned it, man. It's crazy. They did
no,
like
no other games like this right now
Mm.
that Sony
Wow.
has. Like it's
yeah, I know.
yeah. I
don't
couldn't.
know.
I
None that I
couldn't
can
tell.
think
It
of.
could be that they're waiting.
Maybe they're just
or-
nervous
I don't know.
about like they don't want another live service flop headline.
Oh, maybe.
And they
yeah,
think,
when it
well,
when it hits 1.0, maybe.
They're like, oh, we don't want to be embarrassed again by a bad live service
I
launch.
feel like they barely advertised Concord either. Like,
Yeah.
what? How can they complain? Like I
Mm,
saw that in one conference.
No, I don't quite agree because they had that. Remember how they had that reveal trailer that was like 7-minute long CG trailer?
Yeah.
I think
I
that
don't remember that. To be fair, Concord always looked uninteresting to me, so it's entirely possible I didn't pay much attention to it.
sure.
But in this case, it hasn't been in anything
Yeah.
at all.
No, it was in one. It was a brief mention in one showcase, and it was only after the trailer ended that we saw the PlayStation logo, and we were like, "What?
Oh, you're
the
right.
fuck was
You're right.
that? It's a
Mhm.
Sony game,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't think they've showcased it again. In fact, they just did a recent state of play. They didn't showcase. Did they showcase there? I can't remember. Can't remember.
I
if
think they
did or not.
did, yeah.
They did. Okay, cool.
I
Fair
believe
enough.
they
That's
did,
something
yeah.
at least. But
Yeah.
I just feel like there should be like developer interviews happening, and there should be banner
Yeah, it
ads or
was,
some shit. I don't know, man. Just fucking something. I know it's early access for
Mm.
sure, but like, I think if it's a first party publisher, you got to put a little bit of pump behind it. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be checking it out. It looks super
Yeah,
fun. I
thank
just
you.
got sent code today for it actually, so I do plan to.
Yeah, I really
play
like
it with the
do
team.
recommend it. It's
Yeah.
super, super, super fun. Really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm glad it's on my radar now because it was not. But what is on my radar is Monster Hunter Wilds. And I talked about it a little bit
Yeah.
last week, but Ralph, I want to know now that you've dived into it, how you're feeling.
Yeah. So I already
no.
know how mad the internet's going to be about this.
Oh no, I knew it.
Here
The
he
little
goes.
pause, the little
And
shake
it's so
of the
annoying because everyone's
head.
gonna be like, "Oh, you're always trying to be the contrarian, yada yada." I'm like, I genuinely am never trying to be that. I'm just always saying what I think. Okay, but I really am like I'm pretty bummed about Monster Hunter Wilds in most aspects, to be honest with you. I am playing. So the performance wise, it's definitely problematic. Even on a high end PC, it's fucking struggle street, right? So that's a disappointment. Okay. And I know that people have it a lot worse than me running on lower end hardware. Okay. unfortunately, that's how Capcom rolls these days with like their PC port release, and RE Engine kind of sucks, whatever else. So that's one thing. But like fundamentally, I think this game is a big step back in most aspects in the for like the Monster Hunter formula. I really do think that. I'm just about to finish chapter 4, which is I'm in high rank, right? So I'm fighting the harder monsters, the harder challenges. It is so ridiculously easy, this game. I still to this point have not been triple carded the entire time. I'm not afraid of monsters. I'm just not scared of them. When I see 2 monsters at once, I'm like, finally a challenge. And if there's 3 of them in the one arena, I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. Because I'm like, I'm so strong and the game is so easy that I need to be fighting 2 or 3 monsters at once for it to feel like a genuine challenge, you know? I think the gear stuff side of it is super weak, at least at this point. But I'm in high rank, so I don't know how long I can keep up these excuses. But like, I don't really need to think about status resistances and all this sort of stuff. So the gear game feels much weaker, and you can kind of just. I really didn't even need to. I think I upgraded my gear once during my entire low rank playthrough because there wasn't that much gear going in the first place, and it didn't make any difference because I wasn't getting hit. I wasn't dying. I didn't need to get stronger. You know what I mean? I think the level design stuff with the raptor who just kind of drives you around and you don't even need to think about the levels and engage with them at all is a massive step down. They did the same sort of thing in Rise, but this is worse, and I have no connection to space whatsoever. I came out of Monster Hunter World, with so many stories and memories of what it was like to drop those bosses and be like, fuck, man, this thing and the Anjanath the first time. It was so epic. I still vividly remember so many of those encounters because they were so grueling and tense. And when I finally overcame them, I'm just like, oh my God, that was unbelievable. I don't have any stories like that for Wilds, not a single story. And that's now, I'm like, I don't know, 20 plus hours deep. As I said, I'm in high rank. I just think this is a massive step down. I really do. And look, maybe the chapters 5 and 6 and and truly difficult high rank is better, but I shouldn't have to play through 20 hours of this
It
stuff.
should be difficult by then. Yeah,
Totally. You know, it was never like that with Worlds, and I just think this is a real bummer. You know, I really do, and I also don't like the wound system. I don't know. There's a system in Monster Hunter Wilds where you wound a monster and then you can kind of just look at it and then hit a button, and then you do this massive combo that does huge amounts of damage and then stuns them and then sets them up for even more damage after that, right?
Yeah.
That's dumb to me because I'm like, that doesn't take any skill. I'm just looking at something and hitting a button. Well, that's not interesting, you know? But that is such
I think so I like it, but I think it would be better if it was harder to pull off.
1000%
Because then
agree.
it would feel distinctly Monster Hunter.
Totally agree.
Because when I went into that mechanic, because I described it in the last podcast, like when I jumped into that mechanic, when they show you what it is, I was like, okay, good luck with me pulling that off.
Yeah.
And then I pulled it off every time.
Because it doesn't take
and that feels like something it shouldn't be in Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter is
Absolutely.
always kind of like that uphill.
If there was a wound that I needed to target specifically with like my normal attacks, sure, that's really great actually,
Yeah.
because then it forces me to like play in position better. But if there's a wound that literally just like magnetizes my weapon to it for a massive combo that sets up a stun, I'm just like, that's not it, you know? Having said all of this, right, is this still a good game? Of course it's a good game. Like
That's
the spectacle
thing,
of it is unbelievable, and I think they've achieved completely. They've went above and beyond with monster designs this time around. There's such diversity in them. They're so fun to look at, and they're so just. I just wish they were
crazy,
more fun to fight against, because they look impressive, but realistically, there's not much to them in terms of that challenge that they bring. And you know, like. Yeah, absolutely. Should you play Monster Hunter Wilds? Sure, but I would definitely recommend you play Worlds over this. I actually would 1000% recommend that.
You are the outlier on this, though, right?
Massively. Yeah, no one else.
I wonder where that disconnect is coming from. Jake and Lucy, have you guys played it? I haven't because I was traveling when it came out.
Yeah,
I think a lot of other people have said similar stuff to what I'm saying. But I think
it's mixed on Steam too.
A lot of that's to do with performance.
There'll be performance for sure.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people have said similar stuff to what I'm saying. But I think for me, it's just in totality, when I like add all of these
things
to you more. It matters to me
definitely
more than it seems to have mattered to a lot of other people. But look, but even in the Monster Hunter community, I'm definitely seeing some subreddit chatter. I'm seeing some stuff. Like a lot of people are happy with this, sure, but a lot of people are like, "Whoa, this is kind of a bummer." And I think this one really feels like you need to wait for title updates and for the expansion to bring it back into line with what people were hoping for. I think, or not those people who are disappointed. They're waiting for that. I'm certainly waiting for that because I think some of the foundations are here for a really cool Monster Hunter experience, but some of them I just think are not. Again, the wound system, no. The level approach to level design and traversal, no, absolutely not. I just think when that difficulty comes online, sure, I think it's going to be much better. But even then, I just think there are some fundamental things here which I don't agree with the direction of the series. And I actually had similar complaints with Rise, where I was like, this wire bug, man, makes it too easy. Makes it too easy to get out of trouble. Makes it too easy to set yourself up for a mount. There's all sorts of things, right? I really want my monster hunting experience to be fucking grueling as. And this is not. This is super on rails and super convenient. And
First, every time you say Rise, I keep thinking my brain goes to RYSE Rise.
yeah, sure.
And I go,
Rise.
Son of Rome.
God bless.
not that.
Yeah.
The only other complaint that I have heard, which is just from some friends who've been playing, which I think is a really interesting criticism of Monster Hunter, is that the story feels in the way.
Oh, dude.
They're like, I feel like it's giving me story when I
lot
just
of
want
Didn't
to
they
fight
say
monster.
that? Didn't Capcom attribute its enormous success to the fact that people were digging the story? And then I saw a bunch of
Maybe.
people go,
It's terrible.
not sure about that one.
It's insane. It's so bad. It's so bad. Like it's such a bad
it's such
story.
an interesting criticism I have to be like it. The conversation we were having about it, I was asking them about it, and they basically said like it feels like the story is there and it's preventing me from getting to the gameplay that I want,
Absolutely.
and it's frustrating. And I
Oh,
was
no.
like, damn, that's rough.
High rank is much better because there's way less story and I'm just fighting
Yeah.
monsters. But see, this is my pitch. Like Monster Hunter should not have anyone talking. Okay. Monster Hunter should just be sick ass cutscenes of like other hunters using weapons in fucking cool way. The
That
best
they made
Making
that they made
food.
from a monster skin.
correct. It should just be like because like there's this one scene in Wilds actually where this person, another hunter, is fighting with like a great hammer, and do you remember the scene, Jake, where she's like a
Yeah, it's
monster
fucking
appears,
awesome.
and it's fucking sick, and she just like
Yeah.
does these things, and it's almost like watching those Sunny Legend videos where we just
yeah.
when
Yeah.
it's like that.
Yep.
That is incredible, and I just want to watch Capcom make those scenes, and I want to see someone use a Kinset glaive like it's not possible to use it in the game, but they do all
Yeah.
sorts of sick shit. And that's the cutscene. That's the story. I don't want to hear you talking about boring shit. Don't show me that. Just show me cool monster hunting sequences that inspire me to want to pick up the same weapon. Do you know what I mean? That's what I want. And all the story stuff, no, toss it all out. Don't do it. It's super bad. Yet another reason why I did not enjoy this game, because there was so much of it and I was just so bored.
So are you definitively saying you don't enjoy it, or it's
It's
just
terrible.
you're
I don't
disappointed?
enjoy it. It's terrible. Like it's
Wow.
not like I don't even know how that's controversial. I just Jake, do you agree? Is this not terrible? Am I wrong about this?
I enjoyed playing it.
No. I mean, sorry, no. I'm not saying the game is terrible. Excuse me. The story stuff I'm talking about. I'm not saying the game is terrible. No.
That's why I was like, didn't you say a minute ago that it's a good game?
No.
So I
Sorry.
was like,
Just be
it's
super
terrible?
clear.
Yeah.
The story
Gotcha.
stuff
Okay,
is
yeah,
terrible,
okay.
right? The game, I have definitely enjoyed it for sure. Absolutely, it is a good game. I definitely net I recommend it to people for sure. But I think in comparison to what I was hoping it would be, and in comparison to World, I think it's a big step back.
Yeah, I don't know. It has some ideas, but I think it kind of gets in the way, especially in the beginning. There's so much of it, and it's very handholdy that it can be frustrating. I think the problem with me is that I saw the Monster Hunter movie. I forgot they made that,
With
but they made a
Mila
Monster Hunter with
Jovovich?
Mila
yeah.
Jovovich. Yeah, I think I was like super drunk when I saw it. But
Nice.
yeah, so I have that as a baseline.
Yep.
She's in a
Yeah.
new one.
new
Yeah,
one?
it's with her and Dave Bautista. It's like
That's it.
it's like Book of Eli, but with Batista.
Okay. I will actually at this point I will turn up to anything that he's in, because I just respect
he's a
him
great
as an
actor.
actor so much now, and I respect his journey so much that I'm like, yeah, man, I'll pay my $15 to support you. Like I'm at that level, and I don't give a shit about wrestling, by the way. I just like him as a person. He just seems really fucking cool.
Seems
Oh, you heard it
Also,
here
very
first.
cool career. That's
Also,
aside.
sorry.
His career's just been cool. Like what he's doing with his career is so specific.
Exactly.
He's like, I know that I'm ripped. I want to make cool art. Like
Absolutely.
it's rad.
Respect.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my
Well.
very unpopular take on Monster Hunter. I don't know if I'm going to review it or not. I'm gonna actually just play through all the way through high rank and see if my view changes on it. I'd
Yeah.
like to imagine that it gets better and I have better things to say about it at the end. But I'm genuinely not trying to be an annoying contrarian. That's just what I think about Monster Hunter, and I don't know, like I'm not sure that anything that I've said is even that controversial. Like
No.
obviously this is easier. Obviously the wound system plays the game for you. Obviously the raptor leads you by the nose so you don't need to engage. And so I think if all of those things are true, they're going to impact different people in different ways. And all of those things have impacted me a lot, where net my enjoyment of this game is significantly reduced versus what I'd hoped for sure. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, Lucy, what have you been playing?
I got 3 very quick ones. So I've been playing more of Wonder Stop. I previewed it a couple episodes ago. Full game is out now. I'm enjoying it, but it's a weird one because it's a game that because it doesn't hold your hand and push you to play it and push you towards the next thing, I have found myself dropping off and kind of having to push myself to remember, oh, hey, I've got Wonder Stop on the go. I need to go back to it. But again, as a vibes-based game, it is absolutely lovely. Music is great. And the writing is very funny. So I need to keep, because there's nothing like gameplay loop-wise to compel me, because it is so hands-off. It's kind of a weird struggle for my lizard brain.
This is the one that you were saying sometimes you literally don't have an objective, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, enjoy yourself.
Make a cup of tea. Why not?
I can't do that.
I'm not great at that either.
Ed reviewed this, or is playing this, and offered some thoughts on like the news show this week, and he basically said that like it's a game about burnout.
It is, yes.
And part of dealing with burnout is dealing with the feeling of not knowing what to do with your time when you choose to step off whatever that thing is burning you out.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I fight that feeling all the time.
Yeah.
Just by never stopping. So I guess like his point was that like that feeling is kind of the point of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where it's like vibes wise, I love everything about it, but nothing is compelling me to go back to it. And I think it was the Polygon article, the Polygon review said Wonder Stop is just okay and that's okay. And I think that's kind of resonated with me a lot. I think it is really great message. And I want to finish it because I, as someone, as we all have, experienced a lot of burnout. I really want to see just what they have to say about it and just kind of go through that journey with Alta, because I definitely see it. Not that I want to become the best fighter in the world or anything, but just I definitely resonate with her need to keep pushing, even when it is not in your best interest. So I think that's the overall narrative about it, and I love that something like that exists. So that's one to start. I'm also playing a game called Your House, which is like a text adventure. It's a book.
Okay.
But it also has elements of point and click, because there'll be pictures within this book and you can go into it and there's like little inventory and you can grab stuff and you solve puzzles. And so it has the similar kind of art style to what was the game I played last year? Like the neo-noir comic art.
Yeah, the art style is really limited colors. It's like the print colors.
Yeah. And so you're a girl and you're 18. On your 18th birthday, you see your best friend making out with the guy that you love. You get run over by a car. You're on roller skates. You're in the 90s. Okay. And then you go home. You realize no one's wished you a happy birthday. But there is an envelope with a postcard with an address on it and a key that says happy birthday. So you go to this house and it's written like a dramatic story. And some words are boldened. And so you click on them. And that's the way that you traverse around the house. So it'll be,
creative.
She was thinking about what she saw in the office, which would be bold, through which she accessed through the hallway, which will also be bold. So you can go to the hallway, you can go to the office, and then there are secret rooms, puzzles, safes. It's a really cool concept for telling a story, especially within a game. And the developers actually did something similar. I didn't realize their previous game, which the name escapes me right now, but I'll put it in the newsletter. Yeah, and so I hope again the story kind of holds, because there's like this mysterious, who sent her this key? Why is she in this house? How come no one is, how come no one's telling her to get out of this house? What gives? And so yeah, I'm really enjoying that one. And then the last one, speaking of games that make you laugh, I should have brought this up when we were talking about that user question. I'm playing the Promise Mascot Agency demo,
I heard about this one. Yeah.
which is the follow-up from the team who did Paradise Killer,
Yes.
which was that bizarre but fantastic detective game for a couple of years ago. This one you play as a Yakuza who is hiding because he decided to save his Yakuza brother and like basically lost the family a bunch of money. He's sent to this dying town and he has to create run a mascot agency. And the character that follows you around the whole time is a mascot, which is just the top of a pinky finger, which I believe in Yakuza culture is, sometimes they will take the top of the finger off. He's voiced by the same guy who plays Kiryu. The writing is very funny and weird, and yeah, you're just rounding up mascots. The first mascot that I rounded up was a piece of tofu, and then you set them on jobs. So it's also a management game where you run this agency, and it's like a bookstore is opening downtown, and they need a mascot who is cute and funny or something, and then you go through your roster. So it's kind of like, in a way, the Cabaret Girl mini game. In a way,
Oh, there you go. This
Which
looks
is one of the
in a
best.
way, I'm not saying it's a direct
crazy.
parallel. I'm not saying it's a direct parallel at all, but it's scratching that itch for me.
Right.
And it is it's very funny. I don't know, and it has like this beautiful washed out aesthetic. Yeah, there's a small town with little things to collect and characters to meet, and so
You're whipping around in one of those cool little like delivery pickup trucks. I love
Yeah.
those things.
Does it seem like it's directly inspired by Yakuza?
I mean, the character's suit is red, and he has like the opposite color, like a white thing that he has over his shoulder, I think. So,
Oh,
like,
interesting.
is that the right one? Yeah, he definitely
what
has
they're
a.
doing.
Oh yeah, he has white pants and a red jacket. So, I think they're leaning into it.
Yeah.
A lot. There's also Sweary's in it. Shuhei Yoshida's in it.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, cool.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, the main actor is I want to get his name because I don't just want to refer to him as Kiryu, but Takaya Kuroda plays a character who's referred to as the janitor.
Okay.
Because he cleans up.
Nice.
And so yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's like a timed demo as well, so I think it's a couple hours you can spend on it. But I mean, yeah, if you'd asked me what the follow to Paradise Killer was going to be, sure, of course it's this. Like
This
Of
looks
course
like a
it is.
fever dream.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
That's it.
All right. Wow. We played a lot,
We did.
but
Mm.
now we need to talk about show and tell sequence. Something we've enjoyed this week that is not a video game.
I played my very first game of Magic the Gathering this week.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Thank God you said that. If you
I
said
mean,
tennis, I
oh,
was
no.
going to boot you out of this call.
I've never ever played a single game of it ever.
How'd it
Oh,
go?
hey,
I
wow.
got invited to like a Magic event. I was like, yeah, I'll check that out. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it was actually really fun. I loved it.
Yeah.
I've been playing card games ever since like the Hearthstone. Actually, but even before Hearthstone, I was playing mobile card games. But I never
still
How
playing
have you
Snap?
never played like MTG Arena or anything?
Never.
Wow.
And I don't know why, because I'm obviously just being such a massive nerd. I should have bumped into Magic a billion years ago.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I just didn't. And so I was like, yeah, I'll check it out because I'm here in chatter. They're releasing like a new Final Fantasy deck soon.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's why I've been hearing a lot about Magic. And I was like, all right.
The art
and
is
then
cool.
they-
Blessing got into it massively recently.
Oh, really?
too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. It's a very
rules.
You like it as well, do you? You play it?
Oh yeah, I'm at my mom's house right now, and it's full of Magic
No
cards
way.
because I play it all through school. Yeah, I haven't
What a
in a
nerd.
minute, but I love Arena, and I have all the Warhammer decks, and I have
Oh.
all the Lord of the Rings decks.
Shit.
and
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Magic's great. I mean, it's been around for such a long time, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's had a real resurgence where everyone's really playing Commander, which is also like much more accessible
Yes.
to a lot of people. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm surprised that you've managed to avoid
I know.
it for this.
Big
long.
time. So I will check it out a little bit more. There's actually a card store like kind of near me where I live. And
here we go.
and I've learned that
Mhm.
this is how this whole thing works, right? Where, the whole community is driven out of card stores where they organize like game nights or whatever else.
Yeah.
And
Friday Night Magic's a big thing in LA.
Friday
People
Night
go and
Magic?
play Friday Night Magic.
yeah. It's nice because it's very social. You know, it was nice
Yeah.
just to sit across the table from someone and do that, and you can obviously chat while you're going or whatever. So I liked it. I was impressed. I will check out some more of it, and I'll report back.
Be careful. It can get really expensive.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. No doubt at all.
Real fast.
No doubt. I actually saw a tweet the other day. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but it was kind of like all our hobbies these days are priced in such a way that they want all of your money, and they want, like, if you're going to play Magic or whatever, or whatever it is, Warhammer, whatever, it's so expensive that you kind of need to devote yourself to that one hobby if you're going to be able to actually enjoy it, because the price of it is so much.
Warhammer is very
I don't know. Like, do you guys,
expensive.
do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think, like, hobbies at this point, like
mean-
comic books, for example, or whatever? Like, I
Dude,
don't
even
know.
sewing is so expensive.
Sewing? What the fuck?
No. Fabric, yarn,
Yeah, cost
like,
of material.
cost of
yeah.
materials for everything is super expensive.
Yeah, I guess. So.
Yeah, I would think every hobby is trying to monetize you as much as it possibly can.
Yeah, but I mean, I wonder if you feel like that pressure has changed more as time has gone on, and maybe it's a cost of living thing, or maybe it's just a perception thing. Maybe the prices of and the structure of these hobbies has changed, and that's how it is. Maybe it's not it at all, and it's the same, and there was just a random tweet that was wrong. I don't know, but
Yeah.
There'd be exceptions, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Living is
have any.
expensive.
So
I mean, you read trades one.
oh, those are fucking the buying like omnibuses
Yeah,
and like
dude.
collected works is expensive,
That's- yeah.
definitely.
That's
But at least
extremely-
individual issues are still, you know,
How much are they? Like an individual issue?
$6, I think.
Oh man, I was gonna say $2.
I was also going to say $2.
It was.
Man.
It was $2. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stan
I-
Lee here. Yeah.
Not for a long
Yeah.
time.
Damn.
Yeah, I usually wait for, like, I mean, collected trade. No.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I buy action figures. They're expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Mhm.
like Lucy, Legos are pretty expensive,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like the big
Yeah.
ones, like the Lord of the Rings.
And now
ones
that
and
now
shit.
they're doing bag end.
No,
I
I
saw
saw
that.
that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't get Barad-dûr. I'm so sad. I should.
you should have. That's a big L for you. Can I just say that's a massive L. I'm gonna make you feel really bad. about
Lucy
that.
Rare Lucille. No, actually, you know what? They sent one to the Gamespot office and they left. No. It got
thought you got
stolen.
dibs on
What the
that.
fuck?
It got
Oh.
stolen.
Out of the office.
No.
Crime.
So no. UPS or whoever just left it in the street in downtown San Francisco.
Well, there you go.
That was gone in a minute.
There's-
Oh yeah, absolutely. As soon as they
100%.
left, like
There's some homeless dude right now who's got a fucking sick ass Barad-dûr tower in his whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Hell yeah.
Just what he wanted.
That's just what he needed. Yeah.
I guess I'll stick with my on brand. I watched the first 3 episodes of Daredevil Born Again.
Oh.
ooh, how was it?
It's all right. I
Yeah.
think it's doing some interesting story stuff.
Mm.
It's very hard to not compare it to the Netflix one,
Mhm.
which had some pacing issues because there was a lot of episodes and they all the seasons kind of dipped at points, but it was like they still just managed to feel really high quality. The fight choreography, the framing, everything. Where here, it still feels like a big produced MCU thing, where it feels both bigger budget and more hastily put together
Yeah.
at the same time, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Quite disjointed, where the first episode feels like a whiplash compared to the second episode.
Mm.
And then it turns out that like they were like, oh fuck, and then they like changed things and they added things and they added a first episode, all this stuff behind the scenes, and it does kind of show.
Mm.
But there's a cool fight scene. There's one cool fight scene, and they're also potentially doing some interesting things with commentary on the Punisher and the use of the Punisher skull and the proliferation of that image, which, like, from a cultural standpoint, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if Disney really has the guts to go all in on,
They definitely
having
don't
that
have any guts
conversation.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. It is nice to see Charlie Cox back. I'm a huge fan of him.
Big year
And
for
I'm also-
him. Expedition as
Yeah,
well.
he's a gamer now. This is great. We got him.
Yeah.
I also really like Vincent D'Onofrio. They're kind of potentially leaning into like him being a little MCU-ified, where he's like a little lighter and getting into a little bit sillier situations.
What was his
You know-
tweet about pigs?
Yeah,
What?
he was like, didn't he
Did
respond
Vincent-
to
He had
some
an
fan that was
incredible
like,
tweet.
He posts weird. Like he's like definitely like a
Hang
weird
on.
artsy dad.
I think he made a book of this tweet. Vincent D'Onofrio pig tweet.
I need
Okay.
to know. Yeah, I need to hear this.
Pigs can't look up, but I could pick a pig up one night and raise it into the sky and tilt this pig ever so gentle. I can make sure this pig's eyes line up with the stars. Imagine seeing the stars for the first time. I want to be treated that kindly and see the stars for the first time.
wow.
That's beautiful.
What's weird about that? That's beautiful.
It's beautiful. No,
That's
because
beautiful.
it's beautiful. But
Poetic.
But read it in the Kingpin voice. That is
And then it ends
incredible.
with Vanessa.
Yeah, so that's me. I'm
Okay.
gonna keep watching it,
All right.
but we'll see how it goes. The Marvel TV show thing is kind of
What's the next thing from them?
Ugh.
Is there anything coming up? There's like, oh, there's a Thunderbolts movie, which they're trying to position as like an A24 production. You know, they're just like trying to
that's
sell
what
it.
what's her name said, and I was like, oh boy, you want to get another take on that one?
Who said that?
I don't know. The actress who
Florence
was
Pugh?
Florence Pugh?
Florence
She
Pugh.
said an they're trying to position as A24.
That's that she said. She's
Yeah.
like, this is kind of like an A24 movie if it like was and I was like, oh
She's
really?
been in A24
sure?
movies. She should know.
I know
more.
that's the
Yeah,
thing.
she's
She, yeah,
poster girl A24 at this point. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, there you go.
Hmm.
That's it.
we'll see.
You can hope. Sort of Cheating, Kendrick Lamar music pack came out on Beat Saber
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
video game, but it's
Oh.
great.
You get to call Drake a pedophile in VR now.
Yes.
Nice.
All
Yeah,
avenues
it's-
covered.
It's very good. Really enjoying it. Otherwise, this is like niche because who's going to be able to go? But I went to the Adelaide Fringe Festival
Okay.
Ooh.
over the weekend. I have a bunch of friends in Adelaide, a family, sorry, that I was visiting, and it's basically like a month and a half long festival in Adelaide, which is not a big city in Australia.
No.
I think their population's about 1 million, which for an Australian city is small, and for Australian capital city, I should say. But it's basically like a month and a half where they shut down one of the busiest streets in the city and open up like all the bars and restaurants that are on that road, so you can like get in the middle of the street, which is awesome.
Love that.
All of the a lot of the parks are taken over by either like food festivals or art displays. Like there's a full art display in their botanic gardens where you like walk around, you follow a path of like all of these like blown glass art sculptures that are all throughout the park, which is very cool. And they also have just tons and tons of comedy shows. And it's again a full like month and a half. I really didn't know Adelaide had anything going on. The Fringe Festival is great. All my family kept being like, we don't at any other point in time. Don't let
That's
it
true.
trick you.
Australians are listening to this
Just
being
right
like,
now.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
No,
Why is Why is it called Fringe Festival? I thought it was going to be like about the show.
No.
It's
One
I
and a
guess
half
it-
month festival about an old
It's
TV
a
show.
Fringe. It's I guess because it they had a festival that was bigger productions, and then the Fringe became a thing where it's like the idea is like it's the stuff that's on the outside, so it's all
Oh.
very weird.
Mm.
Like I
That's
said, they have a
cool.
lot of comedy shows that come through that are not comedians you really would have heard of, but I guess part of the culture of the Fringe Festival is that you go see things you haven't heard of and see what you think of them, and there's so much stuff on pretty much every night that you can just pick from a huge like catalog of things to do. And one of the things that I guess I call him a cousin. The relation is complicated, but my cousin went to the full name of this is so Australian. The full name of the production or the thing is called A Man Dressed as a Gorilla, Dressed as an Old Man, Sitting on Stage in a Rocking Chair for 56 minutes and then getting up and walking away. That is the name
There we go.
of the thing you go and see.
That's
And
cool.
that's literally what happens. And we were like, why are you going to this? And then he was like, why wouldn't I go? He wouldn't give us a real answer. And I was like, that's definitely a bunch of Australians think it's funny. And so they go get drunk
Yeah.
Yeah,
while
you gotta be
watching
in
this
on it.
man.
Mhm.
Yes. And apparently he's done it multiple years in a row. And I guess last year they were all silent for the first 15 minutes watching him. Everyone was just sitting there in silence watching this man on this rocking chair. And then they like erupted in cheers and clapped for a minute straight or something after 15 minutes. I was like, this
I've got to be
is so
at that.
Australian.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think maybe now they just go to get drunk in the presence of and also
Yeah.
there's a no photos policy, so you're not allowed to take any pictures of it.
So
It's just
not
a whole
real.
yeah, it's just they might be making it up. How
It's
who's
lore,
to
yeah.
say? Yeah, it's just lore. But yeah, it was really really cool, and I think if anything, like from talking to my family members who are routinely going, who live in Adelaide, and going to a lot of these shows, I was like, you know what? I should make more effort to go just see stuff that I haven't heard of, because even when you see something that you don't end up liking or that isn't particularly good, you can still learn something from it, from the things that you don't like, you know? And I was like, I feel like I really should try to do more of that, like see more live productions or plays or like art stuff that I just am not familiar with, because the city's really embraced it and they're all doing it. Again, there's not that much else to do in Adelaide.
There's definitely
But
not.
it seems really cool. Like I was very, very impressed by the way it's laid out, the way it's planned, and by how much different stuff they had on. It was very cool. I think it runs until the end of this month.
This episode brought to you by SA Tourism. So
Good country you got there.
Visit South Australia between February and March.
Wine and churches. That's it.
And opals.
And opals. Is that a thing, is it?
Yeah, there are a lot of the opal mines. I also went to an opal place and learned a lot about opals, which are sick. Australian opals are awesome. A lot of the mines have been shut down in a lot of the other states, in no small part because
they're bad luck. Is it because opals are bad luck?
Are they?
That's what the diamond industry had us believe. That's
of course they did. No, it's because a lot of them are on Aboriginal land, they're being
right.
closed, which is cool. But it means that the ones that are open, they're like even more rare. So I think there's only maybe like 3 mines.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are in South Australia, I believe. Opals are sick. Big shout out to Opals, South Australia Tourism Board.
Right, yeah.
It was rad. Very cool.
I have 2 like quick ones. One, my last night in Japan, I went to the Muscle Girls bar.
I've seen this on social media.
That's where like there's like big ladies
Muscly
that like beat you up.
You can pay them to slap you. Yes.
That's amazing.
And it is just a bar where it is all you can drink for 80 minutes, and you basically, there's just a show, and it's just such a fun time. Like we just had a blast. Our muscle girl was Hannah, and you basically have these microtransactions, like these muscle dollars, and they'll do things like they can slap you. I got a honeymoon carry, which is really nice. And there are things you can do. So you can do press-ups and push-ups and whatever to earn yourself muscle dollars, or you can pay for them.
That's amazing.
That is very cool.
And then they had this. Yeah, it was just a really fun time. So if you're in Japan, if you're in Tokyo, it's a fun one. Go do it. But I went to last week. I went on a little adventure to go to LA to see the behind the what's it called? Hang on, I've got to open it to get the right name. But it's the 9 Inch Nails photography exhibit.
You know.
I know.
Wow.
What's it called? Hang on.
That's perfect.
Literally
Let me get
flew
the
to
name.
another city.
It's literally it's at Lucy James's.
I know, behind the gallery. So I feel really bad because actually I think it was a user who told the lovely Stephen who runs the thing that they should invite me because he knows how much I love 9 Inch Nails. So if that was you and you are a user, then thank you so much. It was lovely.
Cool. That's cool.
And it's basically the photographer Jonathan. I don't know how to say his surname. Rach, like Jonathan Rach. He was basically kind of like embedded with 9 Inch Nails on the Downward Spiral tour in the 90s, and he had all of these photos. But what it turns out that he'd sent them back to his family's house, like so they were just in his mum's house, and he kind of rediscovered them a few years ago, and they've been doing this touring exhibit. And there were all these beautiful pictures. There was stuff from David Bowie in there as well, of David Bowie in there. All these incredible behind the scenes, a very intimate look at what it was like touring on Downward Spiral. And so it was just a lovely little adventure. My friend Max and I went.
Very nice.
And got to meet actually an ex-band member. Got to meet Robin Fink, who was making that game with the Spec Ops: The Line, Corey Davis. So that was fun.
Very cool.
That was my nice little thing that I did.
Yeah.
Wow. I gotta start doing things. Anyway.
It's overrated.
We need to talk to you about that. You need to do stuff, dude. You really got to get out more.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Friends Per Second. I think that about wraps it up, right? Any last words?
So.
We're done.
We said we were going to go for an hour and a half, and it's been 2.5 hours.
It's been long.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not good at hosting. I'm not good at pacing.
No.
I apologize.
You're great.
But yeah, so check us out on all the podcast apps. Thank you for rating us. Thank you for thumbing up. We appreciate that. Of course, you can submit questions to us at Almost lost it there.
my
Well, I know
gosh.
it's been 3
It
years.
has been
Contact
4 years.
Contact at friend. Yeah, you know, we're rounding down. Contact at friendspersecond.com. And the Substack, which is Lucy.
It's
what is the
friendspersecond.substack.com.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
We
So
should
check it out.
get a better
Sure is.
URL for that.
So, folks, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you in the next one. I'm Jake. That's Alanah. That is Lucy. That is Ralph. Tie your shoes and go to bed.